Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and I think, maybe for the first time ever,
yes it is.
No one's in California at the time of recording. No one on the show is recording from Cali.
That was so last week. No, it hasn't. We're done. We've moved on. This is the post Cali era now of EV.
That's right. Mike's not even in California right now.
Even if he was here.
Yeah.
So even if he was recording today, not a single person has a 9 something zip code. Not Nick.
Yeah.
Not you. Not me. Not Mike.
Right. We're all out.
Not even you guys watching or listening right now. You just don't know it yet.
California doesn't exist. It's gone. But speaking of, we've got the first Cybertruck.
I love your trends.
Spotted.
Speaking of no one in California, Cybertruck.
We finally got them prototype testing out in Texas now, not just around Fremont and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you see the Frunk shot?
Were you the one who was skeptical? I forgot. Who was skeptical? You or Mike? It was you.
I kind of played both sides. I pulled a Ming Chi Kuo and on one side
I'm gonna pull a Kermit and just rub your nose in it.
Well, yeah, on one of these episodes I was skeptical because people said, "Oh, you can't put the headlights on the Frunk," and
right.
Mike was trying to explain to me how they can
make that
circumvent that. Unfortunately, it was a pretty low quality shot, so we can't exactly tell what it looks like on the inside, but you can see the whole front end piece
it just
going up. So that was fun.
That's cool.
I was glad to finally get is this confirmation?
Can we use that word? I feel so jaded.
I know. I feel like we're not supposed to say that.
That's a dirty word.
I feel like, especially with anything Cybertruck related, we shouldn't use the word confirmed because this is all still prototype territory. But I will say,
no later than 2021, confirmed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. I mean, Elon said they were going to start with the quad motor, and then people were saying quad motor confirmed. Now I don't believe that anymore. But yeah, it's like highly likely. I'll put it that way. There's a growing percentage of that happening.
Greater than 0% now.
Yeah. There's a greater than 0% chance the Cybertruck Frunk will be like the Lightning Frunk, but
which
I'm kind of glad we got that leak because it gets our brains working on like, okay, it's going to be good, it's going to be a lower entry point, but also it didn't reveal so much because we don't know what the inside looks like. You know, we don't know how deep.
It was so far away.
How deep does the Frunk really go?
Take the red pill. You see how deep the Frunk really goes. Take the blue pill. Journey ends.
Take the Twitter pill.
You take the Twitter pill, and you become a Twitter blue, and now you can monetize or something. I don't know. Take the
whatever that means.
Roadster red, and you come with me. And make sugar water for the rest of your life.
You combined so many references at once. It's kind of amazing.
Whoa.
But hey, you brought up the Roadster.
I did.
I know how I feel about the leaked Highland photo. I don't know how you saw it, but you're a Model 3 owner. This is a Model 3 owner only show today. What were your initial reactions?
What's the word? What's the I'm versatile. I'm a Model 3 owner when I need to be, and then I'm a Model Y owner when I need to be.
That's true.
But my heart and my core goes with my baby Phoenix, first and foremost. That's mine. So,
it'll always be the first.
And you never forget your first Tesla. That we talked about that so many times in the past. It's so true. You don't forget your first Tesla, and for those reasons, you didn't even bring it up yet, but we'll dive into it. For those reasons, I too might have a Model 3 owner bias happening, but it is nice, like that I can appreciate. This is the first actual like touch up If we're doing some type of
True.
refinement paint type of thing, this is the is
Yeah.
that a that's so cool.
I sent that to people on the video podcast. By the way, we are 55 subscribers away from being monetized.
Guys,
so please
get us there.
For the love of God.
If you
so
like
close.
more vlogs like the one I did, subscribe. If you don't, subscribe and I'll stop doing them. Whatever you guys want. This is the only time I'm going to bend the knee to the audience like that.
I'm pretty sure maybe Randy might disagree, but I don't think he will. This might be the last channel I ever get monetized. This could be the last time I'll ever ask. I'll never ask again after this. I'm pretty much like, if any other YouTube channel I gets demonetized, I'll just give up. That channel's dead. You know, if YouTube says this one isn't gonna make money anymore, it's gone. I'm just gonna focus on monetized ones. Yeah, but
guys, please subscribe. It's not a matter of life or death, but it's so weird that
it's so close to life or death.
It's so close to it, and I did not know we were that close. Even like last time I looked, we were
55.
Still high
So close.
800s. We're right there, and we'll never stoop this.
We
low
do not care
subs.
about sub counts at all. This is purely just a YouTube stupid policy thing that we're trying to, you know, if you didn't need 1,000, we wouldn't be asking.
Look, I'm not a hypocrite, guys. There's a lot of podcasts I watch on YouTube that I'm not subscribed to, but because the point that Drew's making,
they're
is
already
that
monetized. Yeah,
the algorithm already pushes that content that I don't need to. Subscriptions are pointless. And we said that I'm pretty sure we said that on the tech podcast a while back. Subscriptions are literally pointless. And I have so many channels I watch that I'm not subscribed to because I don't need to anymore. This is strictly just to meet monetization demand from Google. We don't even care about a play button. We just care about giving you guys the information, and you guys the numbers are there. You're watching it, and you do it on the audio as well. So we're happy on those sense. We just want to meet the minimum requirement for Google to just say, here you go. Now you guys can afford, the next camera gear setup we want to do with it. Most, if not all, dollars that we pull in from this goes right back into the show. I don't.
And we're over 10,000 hours of watch time.
Jeez. So you guys are doing your
so
part.
We have. YouTube wants 4,000 to be monetized. So you're watching, which is great, but we're just gonna hit it once. Flip the switch, and then you can all unsub. I don't care if
I'll never ask again like that. But
yeah,
because I feel I don't want to. I feel so. I don't know. It's weird. We're right there. But okay,
it's icky.
All right. So,
but on the video podcast, you can see this render that people have taken inspiration of the Highland leak. Although that render doesn't have mirrors. The real thing.
Very roadster like. Now, if it looks like this. Look, it's safe. We could say we messed up, Drew. We can say that. That's fine. We can own our errors here. But if it's going to be like $20,000 more or something, I'm good.
Ooh, no.
You can keep it.
Yeah, that would be bad.
You can keep it. It's a very nice car. If this render that Drew is showing us is close to what final would look like, obviously mirrors will be included, and they got tinted windows, so it's definitely spruced up for the thing. But if you guys can just play hypothetical with us for a moment, I would say this car would, for most people, make the Model S obsolete.
That's a good point. I was thinking a lot about that as I was watching it. It was like, and a little story to dive into. I don't know if I'll have the video up by the time you guys are listening to this, but I got to check out yesterday the refreshed S and Ultra Red with the full steering wheel and the new X with the yoke. So I got all the new thoughts and impressions now, and to kind of tie into that, I was very disappointed by the S.
Oh, geez. Did you go to a showroom or?
Yes.
Okay.
I went to. I don't know if you remember last time I was here last year.
I do.
We went to a showroom and they had an LFP Model 3 right there.
You said, "Take my money
on the floor," and I said, "Can I have this one?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I already ordered it, and I told her that's when they let me test drive the dual motor Model 3 last year and everything. Right. So it's that same showroom, but now they had the whole lineup. In the proper order, by the way, S3XY.
Yes.
So, and it was a very the Model X had hardware 4, as did the S. So they had the updated cameras and they had the screen that pivots back and forth. So I got to check out everything. We recorded a whole video. I'll edit that eventually. But I haven't sat in the new S, and when I did, visibility was way worse than I thought. Like I had heard people say they didn't like the higher seating position. Like the S is a sedan, so it's still low to the ground, but the seat, you're like up here, and the crossbar, the windshield goes up to a point, is way lower in your visibility than my Model 3. I did not know it was that drastic until I sat in it. And it was night and day when I went back out. This was nice. It was the first time we got to play around in a showroom for like an hour and then actually go out to a Tesla. It was like, oh, we get to take one. It's nice.
It's okay. I belong here.
Yeah, the showroom lady came out. She's like, "Do you guys need help with anything?" And it was like, we know what we're doing here.
You showed the Tesla card. It's okay. I'm a driver.
It's okay. We're just sitting in a plaid Model X, and she's like, "Do you need help with that?" And I was like, "It's okay. I'm a shareholder."
Yeah, that's dumb. That's from Dumb and Dumber.
It is.
It's like, "Sir,
which makes it even more appropriate."
I'm a limo driver.
You put the subtitles there. I'm a Model 3 rear-wheel drive owner. I know how a plaid Model X works. Yeah, falls out the back. Yeah, but like it was night and day because I was sitting in the new S for a while.
Yeah.
And I was trying the cooled seats and everything and playing with the display. But I was just like, man, I cannot see out of this thing because it's so much longer too. The front piece goes out a lot more. I was like, I don't feel like I can see in front of me that good. And the column, and I was adjusting the seat. I put it as low as it would go, and I was still like, my eye line. I'm like 5'11". I'm under 6 foot. And my eye line was in line with the crossbar. So if you put down the sun visor, literally no visibility. It's like it covered like everything. So I know a lot of people love their refreshed S's and stuff, but I got to admit, I was really surprised by how poorly it was to look out of.
That's interesting.
Same thing with the door handles. I just they pop out and make that noise and everything. And I was like, I got back in my Model 3 and I was like, this is a nice. I just feel like I can see everything. Like the crossbar in my Model 3 is well above my eye line, way up here. So it felt refreshing. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting dilemma you bring up that Tesla's kind of stuck with right now. Is like Model 3 demand is not super high. So refresh seems imminent now that we're getting pictures and Reuters talked about it and everything. But how do you make the 3 better without killing the S?
Okay. The S has always been that more premium large sedan take.
Right.
And at the time too, actually as of I would say right now, because this refresh isn't out yet, the S has better range, has newer has the better premium interior.
Right.
It has the sensors that were taken off for the 3 and the Y.
I don't think it does anymore.
I thought they put it back. They brought the sensors back. Right?
They brought back hardware 4 reintroduced HD radar. Not reintroduced, I guess. Introduced.
But radar.
They took away radar years ago. Now they've incorporated a higher definition version of it, but it's not the sonar, the park assist
I see
things that you're your 3 has that your Y doesn't.
Yeah.
I was looking for them on the new S and X's here, and they didn't have them.
Interesting. Okay.
I was like, ooh.
Okay,
So
well.
I can have summon, but they can't. Interesting.
Look at that. Which we'll come back later. I tried doing the park assist thing with the Y. Well,
Oh, you did?
Okay. It's actually a short story. I can't get the thing to work. That's it. That's the story.
Did you get the lines at least?
Yeah, it doesn't want. How does Mike say it? It's confidently unconfident.
Uncertain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's confidently uncertain. That I'm like,
so
okay,
you see lines, but they're not accurate to anything.
It has this weird like hesitation. It's like it does a little thing like unavailable. So I end up parking it myself anyway.
It just gives up. There's a little pop up that just says
it'll
unavailable.
stop. It stops after just a few moments. It tries and then it just gives it. So then I get in my 3. It's in my driveway, So then I get my 3, and then boop, right there, bring the car to a stop. Boom, 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 and then it does it normal. So there you go.
It took them. I'm just thinking of the software engineers. They were like, "We can." Whoa, this is a real-time update, guys.
Oh, he did text us.
Model Y Mike has just texted us. He said Cheeto Semi. I think he saw the Tesla Semi, but maybe his wife took it, probably because he's driving. He took like the worst possible photo of it. You could just a few episodes ago we were critiquing Mike's. Yeah. He took pictures of me and Randy at the Fremont factory, but we're not like smiling or anything. We're just in this like awkward. We're both looking in different directions. But yeah, you can see the tail end of the semi cab.
That's just about as
it looks like Mike is eating it. Actually,
it was either Mike or Nick. Somebody was like, "I saw the Cybertruck too," like the top, and it was Mike.
It was Mike.
Worse last second stuff here.
It was like the tiny little pyramid at the top.
Yeah. That's funny.
But that's cool that he saw it. I believe he saw it. It looked. I don't know what other semi would be that color, but
yeah.
See, this is why we need live photos. This is not a live photo. I'm trying to get it to.
I taught,
but
on EV related. All my photos of my kid are live photos because I get the funniest little things.
All the motion. Yeah.
All the motion and the sounds. Now, and I'll show you afterwards this, but he started yesterday. He's doing this high pitch like thing just to. He's playing with his vocal cords, and he sounds like a pterodactyl. Like he's just kind of going, and so he grabs his feet, rolls back, and he goes. So I took a photo.
Awesome.
Like he looks so mad. I take the photo, he's like, and he's just doing it. So yeah, that's my boy.
That's my boy.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Oh, the you were saying your park assist stuff.
Yeah, the park assist.
It just gives up. I just envisioned the software engineers. They're like, oh yeah, we can replace park assist with just cameras.
Nope.
6 months later, unavailable. You're welcome. All done. We finished it. It's time to roll this out to the masses, Randy. Unavailable.
These are the same people that used to work on iPad OS.
No, that's not true. People didn't do work on iPad.
Okay. Yeah,
there wasn't work, but no, it's just funny to me that they were like, oh yeah, cameras can replace that, and they were like, well, just remember, if it gets hard, you can just say unavailable at any moment. Just say
yeah. And that happened to me, so I can't really give critique on how so far it sucks.
That is critique. Yeah, that's a fair criticism. You bought a car with the update, you have the proper firmware.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the sonar, and this is the result. This is what you're experiencing. It's like, do you think this is one of those things that Tesla is going to incrementally fix or slowly get better over time, or do you see it as more of the kind of like my experience with free autopilot? They kind of send it out and then leave it there unchanged for 4 years, or like Smart Summon. They didn't do anything with it for years and years and years.
I want to say so. I want to say they will improve over time, but you just listed examples of where the history shows that they just let it go. Oh, we'll get back to it after Robo Taxi, after they'll come back to it, Drew. But no, I don't think it's gonna happen. To be honest, but I'm okay with it though. The Model Y is the most hands-on vehicle intentionally. I don't want to risk it. With my kid in the car, and my wife doesn't want to do it either. So she's like, let me just take care of it all. The only thing she cares about, which I agree with, is can I have the adaptive cruise control while we're driving, or auto steer, so it keeps you in the lanes. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. It can stay right there. Everything else for the Model Y, I'm not blinded by possibilities anymore like I was with the 3. I knew what I was walking into buying the Y, and because my expectations low, because I just needed to do the bare basics of it, I'm not disappointed. Even when I was not critiquing, but my noticing of that, like, oh wow, my rear view mirror, my visibility is so bad now. I've adapted to it because I quickly realized that when I go to, like, say I go to Costco or something, and I fill up the hatchback pretty bulky stuff, I can't really see out of it anyway. So I rely on my side view mirrors more, and then I'll turn on the camera for the rear if I need to see something, like how close is that guy driving behind my brand new car. Turn on the camera. I'm like, okay, fine. So
right, yeah.
That is my kind of workaround to it. I use the rear view mirror now just to look, because normally one of the parent is sitting in the back seat with the child, so I'll look back if I'm like talking to her, if I want to see what the kid's doing, so it's like one of those things for us. I've all that to say that I grew past the lack of visibility that I get with my 3. That being said, I am realizing how spoiled I am with the 3, not just with how much visibility I have. I have more cabin room in the Y, which I'm internally grateful for, but my visibility is so much more apparent. You're hitting all the right notes there about seeing over like just what you could see when you're in the driver's seat. Oh man,
yeah,
I got eyes on everything. I am so comfortable in that car, and I keep thinking. You reaffirmed it for me, because I was thinking that, like, oh well, I've had it since 2019. Of course I'm comfortable. I know, but it's a different behavioral, like, I don't know, headspace that you have to go into with the 3 as opposed to the Y, or as opposed to, I guess, getting in the S or the X, or what. And I'm curious what you have to say with these other compare and contrast.
I have many thoughts.
I'm curious, because like my thought, actually, to come full circle here really quickly with the redesigned 3, even though the Y might be my favorite car now because of what I needed to be in my life, I still feel that the Model 3 is the best car, because it could be the lowest priced car. It can meet most people's needs, and I say most because I don't want to do anecdotal, like, oh, but I want to be able to drag race or do this or tow that. Like, we could make it. We could find a reason why we need Falcon doors or all these other stuff. But
yeah,
when it comes to getting you from A to B efficiently while being sustainable energy too, if you have the means to charge at home or charge worst case, we did our first supercharge with the Model Y since owning. And, Brittany was like, wow, $12. And we were like at 17%. And I juiced it up to 70.
Yeah.
And that was enough to get us back home, because we did a little road trip. She goes, $12. Like, what the? It was cool. It was cool to be like, look at that. That would be, if we took a $20 bill at the gas pump, I maybe get a quarter tank. Maybe.
Right, maybe, just barely.
So the Model 3 is the best EV for entry level people who are cost conscious. Wow, also want to be. It's one of the safest cars out there. Not safest EV, safest car. So
Right.
I'm curious, Drew, how would you compare then with everything with the X and the S? I feel that the 3 makes certain vehicle lineups obsolete. But talk me through what your observations were with these redesigns then, because I had a little FOMO about, maybe a sedan or an X at one point, and we talked about
Yeah.
maybe getting an X as a second car used one day. That would be cool. Now that you've got to see it, what are your thoughts on it? Has your thoughts changed?
I guess they hadn't changed too much, but they were like reaffirmed. Everything was saturated. Everything was exaggerated more so than before. Like I had said on the podcast and live streams and stuff that I love the Model X. I just like the self-presenting doors. I like the windshield that goes all the way back. That's what I think Lucid should do, but they put the stupid sun visors there. But I sat in it, and I was in it for a good 20, 30 minutes just playing with the screen and feeling the yoke, and they didn't let us test drive it or anything. But I really loved the yoke, and the visibility was amazing, especially for the front, which is, the most commonly used seats. So being able to look all the way up and that windshield goes past your head was amazing. I love the ventilated seats. I just blasted the AC on them. I was like, whoa, that is really nice. And I've never played with that new 17-inch display before. I could be wrong, but I swear it's 120 hertz. It looks so smooth. It was so buttery. I was just navigating, on the maps, and I was moving windows around because the bigger screen has more like multitasking capability. Since you have that driver display, the car and the park reverse stuff is all behind the yoke. And I was adjusting the seat and everything, adjusting the yoke position, and I was just like, man, this is, I was like, I'm in heaven right now. I had that similar, it was one of those similar moments to when you guys rented the Model 3 and I got to drive it for the first time. Yeah. I was like, whoa, I need to rethink my finances now. I was in the X like,
you want to go home and rethink your life. I want to go home.
I'm rethinking everything now. I was like, yeah, I kind of want... And I kind of made a pact with myself. I was like, I don't know when, I don't know how. I was like, but someday I need to own this.
If we could just get 50 more subscribers.
Yeah, right. If this channel was monetized, I could totally do it. No, I'll need a lot more than what I have. But and also, frankly, the refreshing thing was after playing with those cars, going into our Model 3, and I didn't get that feeling I'm used to. Kind of like, what was it? Pavlov's dog, you know, where they're used to hearing the bell. I'm so used to playing in a showroom and then getting in a Sonata that it was refreshing to play in the showroom, get in our Model 3, and I was like, oh,
okay,
this is this is still really nice, actually. I was like, those other quirks and stuff were nice, but they're definitely not, they're not $100,000 nice. And I understand why they have demand shortages because, just playing around with the Model X for a good 20, 30 minutes and then jumping in my Model 3, I can't say it's a $40,000 different or $50,000 different experience. It's very similar. You still have a quiet all-electric vehicle. You still got NACS. You still got supercharging. You've got a display there. You've got a heated steering wheel. You've got a powered trunk and everything. So it's like, I don't blame people for not going for the S and X at all. Even more so with this refresh imminent of the Highland and everything getting an updated light design. And hopefully it looks like that render. I like that render a lot more than the leaked photo. I don't know what it was about that leaked photo. Maybe
I think
it's
it was the angle, and it was dirty. It was
very dirty. But do you notice underneath the headlights there's no more fog light / air intake?
Yeah.
Does that bother you?
Um, no, no, because I would say I'm looking at it right now as I'm forming my thought here. It's purposely looking futuristic, sleek in design. Like this is you know, cars of the future are here now type of a thing. That's a car of the future. You look at that at night when you're driving, and you look in your rear view mirrors and you see those headlights coming up. You're like, that's a Tesla. Like there's a signature
tell.
there about it, and I kind of feel like the angling of the leaked photo, not the render, the actual one that we saw. What felt weird about it, and you know what? I'm sure you've experienced now as a owner as well. Sometimes when I go take a photo of my car, or if I'm recording my car, I get a certain angle and it makes the front look more like bubbly or swollen than it actually is. Where like look at the black 3 and how where the headlight is, the left headlight, and how it kind of looks more like puffed up than the rest of the car, and then scroll back up to the render and it actually looks pinched and slim. It's so, angles matter here.
I see what you're saying. It's like the warp of the lens.
Yeah.
How close the camera is.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is definitely shot on something like hashtags shot on iPhone and and
shot on unemployed iPhone.
Yeah, that's fine. Like we could see that.
This one customer has probably caused the loss of like 500 Model 3 sales.
If I was in the market,
there's one
right
employee.
now,
sorry.
If I was in the market, I would wait now. Yeah, the Osborne effect hits me. I would be like, because here's the thing: I win either way. I wait and I get a cool new design, or if it's like not that cool, well then now the old one just got a lot cheaper.
Oh, that's a good point. I was going to use that argument. I was like, well, I like personally, the more I look at the leaked photo, the more I don't like it. And again, could be the bias talking. But I was just outside this morning looking at our car, and I was just like, yeah, there's something about it feels more, it feels like there's more character when you've got the little air intakes and the fog lights on the bottom and those larger headlights on top. I don't know what it is. It's hard to articulate,
it's
but
your first
it felt
car.
more.
That's what it is, and
that's what it is. Yeah,
it's the bias is there. We cannot be objective about this. When I look at the render of the Model 3, I like it more for. It doesn't look warped. That was a good use of it. Like there's no lens warping here, so it gives me a better look of it. It looks like it's trying to be an S, a roadster, all these things, but obviously not compromise, because if I had to choose, I would want a frunk over no frunk. So I prefer the cutout there anyway. But when I look at the actual leaked photo, it reminds me of my Model 3. And what did I do? I wrapped that sucker up. I didn't want to see the black. True. But it's not a bad photo. Like if I had to choose between this one or mine, then I would take the newer one because it looks cool. It's different. I have a green. I'm different for the sake of just being different. You like the render more than the actual photo because it's closer to what your car actually looks like with the pearl white. So you don't like the leaked photo because it looks nothing like yours, and you love yours so much because it's your first Tesla. I get it. I do get it. Here's the thing, though. Okay, so we're nitpicking little things here because we don't got much to go off of. What matters to me, honestly, if I actually would care about the redesign or not, 100% has to do with the inside of the car. I don't really care about the outside.
Yeah,
I don't care about the headlights. I don't care about the
you get over that so fast.
Yeah.
Once
like,
you take
cool.
delivery,
I'm over it. It's the Model X with like, hey, nice. And like, hey.
Right.
You know? I would
like when Tesla officially drops this,
yeah.
It'll make headlines and it'll be really popular for a couple weeks, and then it'll just blend in with the crowd again, and it'll just be like, oh, yep, that's the new one.
The Cybertruck will be the only one that doesn't do that because it's so different.
That's true. I mean, it will. I think at some point it will start to feel like commonplace. It'll take a long. It'll take a lot longer, but
Yeah, when
you're right.
Sage
It doesn't
has enough
stand.
money to buy his own car, sure.
Yeah, it's still going to turn heads for probably many years.
Yeah.
Because people aren't used to it, and it doesn't look like any other truck. And this is more iteration than anything. You know, it's very tweak of an existing design, but
Which I welcome.
maybe, yeah, it's good. It's probably what the Model 3 needs. Out of the whole Tesla lineup, it's been the most untouched, I would say, over the past. Ever since it launched,
Do you not
it's been like
consider
almost 6 years.
the interior refresh to count, or like the power trunk or stuff like that? Do you not consider that to be a iteration bump?
I guess we should, but it's less. Maybe the reason I'm not as big a fan of that updated design is it's not so much like you said about a functional change.
Yeah.
It's not about the interior. It's purely look at me, I'm the new one.
Yeah.
It's not a functional
It's
upgrade.
the iPhone
it's not
14.
It's like the iPhone 14 of upgrade. Yeah, because it's you could see it coming down the side of the road, and probably just with a well-trained eye, you can just say, "Oh, that's a refreshed Model 3." Versus you see if someone saw your Model 3 and they saw mine, they wouldn't be able to tell the years apart really, because it's like, well, anyone can get Chrome Delete if they really wanted to. So I guess that could be a 2018, or it could be a 2020, or it could be, you don't know. But I guess that's why I'm not as big a fan of it, is because it just feels like it's giving into that audience demand of, well, they should just change it for the sake of I'm bored of it. It's not that there's anything wrong with the front of the Model 3. People just want different for the sake of different. And I appreciate, like you said, more so those functional changes, like a powered trunk or a more matte black interior with wireless chargers built in or whatever. You know, those are like, okay, you don't get to show those off as you're driving down the road. People don't go, he has wireless charger. You know, that doesn't happen. But
Oh my God, is that a Model 3 with USB-C? Babe!
Babe, look. Yeah, I mean, I do the refreshed S and X thing. We've been driving around our Model 3 here, and I was like, oh, they got the refreshed X. You can tell from the gills, the little fog intakes are more minimal on the front. And I was like, oh, that's a refreshed X. And my mom goes, what does that mean? And I said, that means they paid too much for it. That's my go-to line, because the depreciation on them has tanked so far now because of all the price cuts. But I'm in favor of it because I don't own one, and I would like to own one, but I want to cheap. Yeah, I'm not going to pay. Yeah, I'm not going to pay even 80 grand for that. Even if it was 80 grand, I wouldn't buy it. But with a few years of depreciation, I think similar to what you said, I wouldn't buy a new one. I would try to find a used one in my spec in good condition. But I've got until, as long as I own it before I die. That's my goal. That's all.
You know what blows my mind?
I've got some time.
We talk about, like, I want to own this car for at least 10 years. I'm going to drive it to the ground. Blah, blah, blah. I've said that about the 3 for so long. I'm on year 4. I'm almost halfway there. And it doesn't feel, it still feels like it's within a year or something.
Yeah, it's
like
got that new car
the way it
feel to it.
The way it behaves, operates, the updates, the software updates alone. Like, I feel like I'm on year, at longest, I feel like maybe year 2. Maybe. But
yeah,
I might have to revise. I don't know yet, but I have been like, if I can hold it for 10 years, then it's, to me, I think I might have to hold on to it longer because it doesn't feel like I've had it that long. I'm like, 4 years already? Like, I don't think I went this long with, I didn't go that with any car. Like, I got the Model 3 in 19. In 2016, I bought my Jetta. And that was the car. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to have this car forever. And then I saved up.
Yeah.
I bought the Jetta. Then I saw the Model 3, and I said, that's going to be my next car. And I just saved. But before that, 16, 12. No, I had 4 years. The car I had before that was a Scion TC, a little 2-door little sports car. I really liked it, and that was more or less what I like to call my first like individual car. I had a family car before that, but that was my first car that I bought with my money. And that lasted me 4 years. And I would have gone longer, but AC went out. You know what that feels like. And I was miserable. I was cooking in the San Diego summers. Woo! I like rolled the window down, except it wasn't actual roll. It wasn't that old. But
I played that game.
I was miserable. Winter, didn't mind as much, you know, like, that's fine, whatever. But summertime's like
in San Diego.
Yeah. I was dying in the summertime. So I was like, I need a new car. Oh, CarPlay. Cool. That's fine. And then like the Model 3 came out and changed all expectations. I don't see myself moving away from the 3 anytime soon. Let me ask you something.
Me neither.
With this refresh.
Okay.
3. What if
I loved the X, by the way. That I'm having that reaction of like, I need this. That was like we opened the Frunk. The Frunk is so wide in the X. It's massive, and the trunk less so. I was less impressed, but it was a 6-seater X. But just sitting in that front seat was like the whole butts in seats mentality all over again. I was just like, man, I hope they don't stop making these. I know there's some people suggesting that, but this is such a miraculous feat of engineering. Those doors are way up there, and you've got this super aerodynamic shape, getting like 350-mile range with 100 kilowatt hours. You got the fast charging. You got the acceleration, which I don't care about. I wish they would do a LFP rear-wheel drive Model X. I would so buy that at a lower price. You know, like,
do you like
I don't
LFP
want the speed
so much because you can take it to 100% and not worry?
Partly, but usually it tends to go hand in hand with lower price, which is my main interest. It's not so much like I wouldn't, if it was the same price and it happened to be LFP, I wouldn't care as much. But if it was lower price and LFP, which is typically how product lineups work, then that makes me love LFP if it lets them bring the price down.
Gotcha.
I don't even need the range. I would take the Model X with the same range we have now, same acceleration or worse acceleration, honestly. Just one motor, and I just love that interior so much. That display was just so immersive, so responsive.
It's because you thought you saw ProMotion happening.
I'm fairly confident it is. I could be wrong. I don't know if anyone's confirmed that. I don't even know how you confirm that. Is there a... Oh, man. You know what I should have done is filmed it in slow-mo and then done it next to my Model 3. There's still time. I could go back. I could go check it. I should have done that. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. But someone else out there with a refreshed X. And it could be one of those things they added recently. This was a very new build. It was a Plaid X with 34 miles on it. Ooh. It had the updated rear display. Like in 2021, there was a pretty small display back there with pretty thick bezels. They updated it, I think, last year to be larger and with much thinner bezels. This one had the thin bezels. It was, and it didn't have the sonar, so I'm pretty sure it was a 2023 build. Maybe they just, when they added the new GPUs for Steam, because, you know, the 2021 GPUs were worse. Yeah. It's like once they added the new GPU, maybe they were like, okay, let's pop in a 120 hertz display or something. Because I feel like I spot ProMotion pretty well. I don't have it on my phone anymore, but I do have it on my MacBook. And my mom has my 13 Pro Max, who I've seen her use it a lot on this trip. And when I see her, she's like, look at this. And she's swiping between pictures. I'm like,
bless you. I love you.
I was like, my precious. But like,
you don't need it.
I was just moving around that screen, and I was like, I'm fairly sure that's ProMotion. I think it is. But
the best gaming PC is not even a PC at all.
The best gaming PC has 4 wheels and a battery. Hey, that's a longer battery life than most gaming laptops.
4 years, 4 wheels. Yeah, it comes with 4 wheels and 6 figures. if if the Model 3 redesign, if they came out and
Yes.
said that this new design with the new front and all that is actually more efficient because of science, and you
It
just
could be more aero. It looks like it goes down a little more.
we got better range, or just it's more efficient, same range or slightly better range, but definitely, it is an improvement. It's not just for the sake of being, hey, look at me,
Sure.
I'm different.
Yeah,
If they came out with better specs, would that change your opinion on the redesign?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess not, because my opinion isn't so much that uh, I like I like or don't like it. I mean, there's a aesthetic way to analyze it, and then there's a manufacturing efficiency way to analyze it. And I could just tell you by looking at it, this is probably way cheaper. It looks way more simple, and it appears they're ditching the fog lights. So that saves on parts, that saves on time, complexity. So I'm pretty sure, according to the Reuters report, that was a big emphasis with this refresh, was like cheaper, go more minimal on the exterior and the interior. And I hope that means they're switching to the castings as well, which I'm all in favor of. If you can find a way to lower the price, make it more affordable, even if that involves a redesign. Yeah, I mean, Tesla's always been about like, well, you can always redesign things. Some people will like it, some people won't. But you can fight people back and forth on aesthetics,
Yeah.
but you can't fight on specs. Specs is more objective. This design, like it or not, enables a better blah blah blah. Whether that's cost or efficiency, range or whatever. So yeah, I see where you're going with it, because that's why I love Aptera so much, just because it's like, once I knew the reason behind it, I fell in love with the design later. Same thing with the Cybertruck. Didn't like it at first. Over time, realizing the reason it looks the way it looks made me appreciate it.
I heard you
more.
like cheap EVs. Let me tell you about this.
Yeah.
This Model 3 and how cheap it really
Yeah.
is. It's all plastic.
It's all plastic. Polycarbonate. Yeah, that might be the future. But I think, yeah, if it enables them to lower prices further, all the better. All the better for it. I'm not against it as a whole, but I was more just analyzing it from the aesthetics point of view. Does it look better or worse than the current Model 3 design? It's a toss-up. I would say maybe side grade.
You can't be objective. You are completely biased. See, I think
You're right.
I'll
You're
be
right.
honest. I think I
I
can
am.
be more objective than you, because I've had the car
Okay.
longer. The novelty
Okay.
wore off. I think, and just for transparency, I'm being fair here. I'm going off of the render only. I can't tell much from the photo part of it, the black Model 3. So looking at the render, assuming this is effectively spot on, I would say that this redesign is needed because it looks more aerodynamic, and we want you talked about in the yeah, you did a video in your video. Even the side cameras are flush, like there's real thought about what the car is doing. And I'm looking at the rims, which look like they could be another version of like, oh, these are just aerodynamic, and
They look like a black version of the 19-inch sport wheels.
which
Is how I interpreted them. I hate them, but I prefer them black over silver. But
sure, yeah. But the way that because the 3 sits so low, it's all about efficiency when going over, well, I don't know, 50, 60 miles per hour. I feel I feel like the Model 3 redesign, if anything else, would be better for the sake of moving design forward. design will never be perfect, and
True.
and everything has to always be touch up here, touch up there, iterate here, and this redesign, assuming the insides are just as reworked as the outsides would be, if it is going to be more minimal, that means it's more intentional. Everything that you do, we like the display because it's a very intentional piece of hardware and tech.
Yeah,
that is the core of the whole car, really. I can only imagine that the trunk would have the same iterations, like touch-ups too. Shoot, give us a cooler frunk too. Like if it gives us wider or deeper, that's an improvement. If the trunk gives us a deeper second cargo space under there, cool. Now this goes against the cheap, being cost effective. When I say cheap, by the way, for listeners and viewers, I'm not saying cheap as in quality built. I'm saying pricing. I'm talking about being more affordable. If there's an upgrade that can come with the new Model 3s, that when you spec it up or when you spec it out for an interior premium or premium interior anything, all I want, and if they did this, I know it would change your answer too, Drew. All I want is ventilated seats. That's it.
Oh, That's it. I was thinking about that.
That's all I want.
It's a good point. I was like, how much of the X do I really want? Or if there was a 3 with X-like features, would that change my opinion? That's a good argument.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, there's other cars in that price range and lower with ventilated seats. It's not like impossible or unreasonable, but that kind of ties back into the question of, will this cannibalize S sales? Do you think ventilated seats should be gate kept by the S and X?
No.
Absolutely not. So in that case, then, let's say they listen to our show, like always, and implement ventilated seats to the 3, or even a yoke or something. Do you see the Model S still being justified as just the higher range, higher performance model? Or
yeah, I do. Also because it still has a second display for the driver.
So you wouldn't bring that to the 3?
No.
Okay.
No, keep.
I'm trying to figure out which interior features we gatekeep. Which one is luxury enough?
The radar, the second display, the third one in the backseat too. Like for the X, have that new one that you were looking at.
Yeah.
Let the high end, let premium interior be premium. So
I think the range argument would also be a good one, because
for sure.
I don't think most people need as much range as they think, at least when we're talking sedans. Pickup truck, different story. But when it comes to sedans and crossovers and stuff, I was blown away by how easy and quick my road trip was. And I have the lowest range Tesla they make.
Yes, you do.
And hopefully, like you said, this updated design can help with aero and efficiency a little bit. It probably won't be massive, but my thought is, they turned off Model 3 long-range orders. They haven't brought those back. And they said available later in 2023, and it's still not back. I wonder if they're seriously considering, and I want to pick your brain on this, like restructuring the battery pack options. Ooh. Like, think about how the Model Y, long range and performance, are the same pack. What if, for manufacturing simplicity, and also because they want to divert more 2170 cells for the Y and the Semi or whatever, this might sound crazy.
I love crazy.
Okay. How would you feel about all Model 3s going LFP? Like the performance, and then you just have a performance and a rear-wheel drive, and with some Maybe you could fit a bigger battery pack in it as well. I'm not saying that they all have 270 miles of range, but perhaps with that new manganese chemistry, they get the in single piece castings can save on some weight too.
Yep.
Maybe some structural pack redesigns. Like we just shoot for a middle ground of like 300. That's the range of the Model 3 rear-wheel drive, and then the performance with its extra motors, bigger tires is like 280, 290, somewhere in there. And that's it. There's not a rear-wheel drive, long range, and performance. You just keep it real simple. And that way you could lower prices. You could hit $35,000 on the entry level, factor in the tax credit. You basically have a $25,000 car. Ta-da!
Fully subsidized.
Yeah.
You know I'm a sucker for simplifying a lineup wherever I can.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh-huh.
And okay, let me follow up. Let me answer a question with a question real quick for clarity.
Okay.
Do we keep the naming convention of the different variances the same, or is it a new naming convention?
Trying to understand. What do you mean, like the performance
Yes.
versus rear-wheel drive thing?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess in this pitch there would just be a dual motor and a single motor. That's it. There's no difference in battery
Okay,
packs
so
between the trim.
Model 3.
There's no long range.
Dual motor, Model 3, single motor. Single motor,
Pretty
Model
much,
3,
yeah. All-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive.
all-wheel drive.
Could simplify it.
Yeah, rear-wheel drive. Oof. That is a crazy idea.
That might be too minimal for some people, but
Well,
I'm
okay.
trying to think of ways
but-
to
but-
separate S and 3.
Here's so
And letting the S have the long
It might be
range.
too much, but what? You know, this is the lens I look through when I joke with VR. What problem
Mm-hmm.
is it solving with a single range Model 3 cost? Cost.
Right.
That's the first thing. Is to me is like it's solving costs.
Because we have a demand. I don't know about problem, but we have more supply than demand now.
Yes.
So Tesla's likely having the same discussion. How do we restructure this to be more obtainable, more affordable to the masses? And also seems like the redesigns focus on how do we make it simpler? How do we simplify manufacturing, scale it up while also increasing desirability? Because we both want ventilated seats.
Yeah, we do. So I'm gonna humor this then. To the finish line. But I will say from
Okay.
the offset, I don't see this obviously happening. But
Oh, sure.
but let's just, you and I are co-CEOing this right now, and we have say, okay? In that world,
All right.
on that timeline, here's how I see it then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will give that to you. Single motor Model 3 is I'm thinking about my quadrant. I'm thinking about my quadrant.
Yeah.
There's your affordable. Right. That's the everyday, the everyman car that for most needs and stuff like that. I don't want to anecdote it with but I drive for, like, obviously, you have other variables at play. A standard person who works a 9-to-5 job has a white picket fence, all that. Single motor Model 3. Yes. The dual motor being the performance, but also okay. Here's what I'm rationalizing in my head. Mm-hmm. You said 300. 300 is sufficient.
Feels like the sweet spot.
And it is a sweet spot because we've been sitting there for a very long time, and we've got everybody.
And it's LFP, 100%.
Yeah, so that's an actual 300. Right. And even if with a little bit of the battery degrading a little bit over time, look, not much. Mm-hmm. I am around, like, what I say, 280 or high 270s, and I'm not noticing it. So
yeah.
With the dual motor being the performance of it, are we now introducing the upgraded Like the upgraded seats for ventilation or the interior?
Mm,
Are we introducing the subwoofer and the premium connectivity, sound system that goes in there? Are we
right.
introducing the power trunk? You know, because in my world, I would cut costs and not make it a power trunk for the cheapest three. Much like mine now. So
Mm,
before anybody would be like,
yeah.
"That's a terrible idea," they already upgraded. I'm doing just fine with a manual trunk. I'm getting by just fine. So that's not a
Yeah.
deal breaker for me. And if that saves costs, again, I am looking at that quadrant from the lens of cost savings. But what does the
Mm.
next one solve then? That one solves the uh, bougie on a budget is what I like to call it. It solves bougie on a
Sure.
budget. I want
Right.
the torque, and maybe every now and then I want to drive a little faster than I should, practicing safe, responsible road etiquette and this and the other. Like, I want to have all that just for a small flex. I'm being bougie on a budget. It's no Rolex, but it's no Timex either. I got an Apple. Bougie on a budget is how I want to call that quadrant there.
Sure.
I would give that one the better sound system. I would give it
Okay.
ventilated seats. I would give it that would be the one I would buy. That would be the one that that
So you're kind of pitching like a Model 3 and Model 3 Pro.
that's the one with the promotion display in there. No, because on the Model S side though, Model S the top tier one. That's the one that obviously has the ventilator. That has it has it all. It has the other display. It has
Yeah.
wireless charging with the USB-C as well. Because I'm entertaining the cheap one, not even have wireless charging. To be honest with you, I'm basically affecting cheap Model 3, making it a 2018 Model 3, so to say, because that would be cost
I
saving.
see.
That one didn't have wireless charging. That one didn't have power trunk, and that is
Right.
pretty darn efficient with everything that it does, and price efficient as well. I would introduce that in a cheaper LFP lineup. The Model S gets all of it, gets all the you throw everything at it plus the price tag. If it can go that fast, it goes. If it can go that long on a single charge, then you give it all that ludicrous mode for OG
Right.
people. Give it all that. And then the cheaper Model 3, that's the one for, well, I need more room, but I'm not a crossover SUV kind of guy because the Model S is a large sedan. That's the one where if bougie on a budget is Model 3 dual motor, the cheaper single motor Model S is like the person who's not into tech, who doesn't care about sound. That's the person
Sure.
just like, but give them the ventilated seats. Give them a good car, not the best computer. It doesn't have promotion or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's the person who's just like, that's Nana's car if she wanted to, ball out, Dang, Nana, nice drip. If you, that's her car. Whereas like, the YouTubers or whatever those guys want to like really step up. There's the Marquez version. There's the Nana car. There's bougie on a budget, and then there's everyone else is like, hey, I want to get save money at the pump. Oh, hey, let me introduce to you a single motor Model 3. That is my lineup where an S and a 3 can coexist together perfectly. There's not much overlap really happening, and it has that Apple effect of like you can always upsell a little bit more to the next one, and you could justify the cost that way. So that's my pitch to you. Now let me hear yours.
I don't know. I mean, there's probably some truth to it, but I feel like they tried to kind of do what you're describing in the 2018, 2019 days. They said we're going to do the standard range Model 3 and it'll have like cloth seats, or there were some other interior changes they were going to make with it as well. But they realized that the complexity of having that kind of diversity in the interiors wasn't worth it. So it was easier and cheaper for them to just standardize powered trunk on all the Model 3s. Who cares? Wireless charging on all of them. So I wonder if that would complicate it more than it needs to be. So my pitch would be ventilated seats on everything. I just want that to be standard because I think it's cool. I think it even helps with efficiency a little bit because the HVAC doesn't have to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to work as hard because you cool your body down faster just directly. I don't know how much it saves, but yeah, I want that to be standard. I wouldn't mess with the wireless charging or the powered frunk. I would keep that as standard. But my hope would just be through single piece castings and removal of the fog lights, removal of the the updated frunk and everything, plus transitioning to all Model 3s are LFP now, so that all Model 3s can charge to 100% every day. And they have minimal degradation, and we just accept that, hey, 3 stands for 300, like the Model 3 stays within it stays within that 300-mile mark, doesn't need to go much further or much less. And we kind of, I guess I'm biased because after road tripping with EVs now, I'm even more convinced in my ways of range doesn't matter all that much. Like that max range number doesn't really play into effect. Obviously, when you're just driving around town, you're not going to hit that. And when you're on a road trip, you don't charge to full. You're more about the charging speed. You're more about how fast can you charge, and then how many locations are there on your route. And even on this last road trip, there were times where I was plugged into the supercharger, and it said you have enough range to continue. But my wife was using the restroom. She was busy. So it was like the car was ready to go before we were. And yeah, I'm sure you'd be there too with kids and needing to take breaks.
There's so many times I'm at there's a famous gas station out here, like chain called Wawa, and they have like restaurant kind of stuff going on inside a little bit. And
sure.
You can get lost in there for you can kill 10, 15 minutes easy. And I was charging up, and I went in. I was like, I'm going to use the bathroom and grab maybe a water or a soda or something.
Yeah.
You can have like custom drinks made at the ordering thing for like there's a cafe and stuff. So I'm like, I get a drink for the road, all that, and get a sandwich or something. Man, I was efficient with my ordering. I'm just waiting on my name to be called to pick up my order.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you're good to drive. Like, nope. And then I'm over here
not ready.
Am I going to get hit with idle fees? But they don't threaten the idle fees with me at those gas stations. Thank God.
As long as you're not, right. As long as your battery's not at like 100% and still plugged in, I don't think they'll throw idle fees at you. I could be wrong, but as far as I could tell,
the mall in San Diego that we went to, I don't go to 100% there, and it will cap me at 80, or I put it at 80. I think it caps me at 80 during the time of the day.
Okay.
And when we hit 80% and like, hey, it's ready to go, and I'm like, I'm at Apple or something. If I'm not at my car at that 5-minute mark, I'm getting fined. So
yeah, they're gonna get angry. Yeah. So I guess that's my logic. Is the Model 3's job? Like, we're not trying to fundamentally change the purpose of the Model 3, but the Model 3's job is to be, at least in the U.S. market, that entry model. It's meant to be the everyday vehicle that's affordable, practical. It's got enough range. It doesn't have the most range. It's not the most luxurious, but it's enough, covers the basics. And I would say leave the nickel-based cells to the Model S, because some people want to road trip like crazy, and they want that really, really good trip time, or they want way faster charging speeds.
Yeah.
That's another idea I had. Maybe over time, Model S and X, being more luxury focused, could switch to a higher voltage architecture like Cybertruck.
So with the threes, I'm writing your notes down, your pitch right here. So
okay, good.
Yeah, I wanted to visualize what you're pitching here, but I don't think you have not given me What's the difference between the single and the dual motor then? So far, I got LFP, ventilated seats, 300 miles.
Yeah, it would all just be performance differences. It would be the dual motor Model 3, of course, has the all-wheel drive, and it's faster.
Yeah.
It would have the 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and all that. But no, I wouldn't say there's much need for differences.
So you're actually saying specifically. Oh, okay. So you're pitching that intentionally keep it the same. Do you want to drive faster?
Yeah. Yeah. Or do you want all-wheel drive? I guess some people want.
How do you price
in
that
the snowy
between
climate?
The single and the dual. How do you price that?
What's the difference now? I forget. It's like 42,000.
Doesn't matter. We're CEOs now. It's whatever we want it to be.
Okay. I guess I'd put maybe 5,000 or 4,000 between the two because they're very close to the same car. They wouldn't be very different. It would just be pay a little bit extra for the performance and because I feel like most people going with the Model 3 right now are probably going for the rear-wheel drive, considering you can't get the long range and the performance is way faster than most need it to be.
Do you know a world, or not a world? That's too big of a pitch there. But do you know a scenario where people would want an LFP, but not like who if they want to go to 0 to 60 quicker, they're all about like efficiencies, like pick up speeds quick,
right?
Charge quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who would want an LFP? Maybe it's you. Who wants an LFP for 300 miles? But it can go quicker on a. You know what you're pitching to me? You're a little bit more. $3,000 more than the acceleration boost that I can download on my car right now.
I was just thinking about that. I had a backup plan for that.
That's what you're pitching to me. It's like, do you want to unlock the car or no? That's it. 5,000. Unlock the car. That's what I'm hearing.
Well, I mean, Tesla loves their acceleration package, so maybe you have for manufacturing simplicity. You have your Model 3 rear-wheel drive, basically what we have now. That doesn't change. But then you have your Model 3 all-wheel drive. Because that's what, hey, you like simplicity, right? You like the symmetry. That's what the Model Y is. They don't call it the Model Y standard range. It's just Model Y all-wheel drive.
Yes.
So you have your Model 3 rear-wheel drive and Model 3 all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive does a 0 to 60 about the same as yours. It's like 4.2 seconds. But with that all-wheel drive variant, there's a performance boost that pushes it to 3 or 3.5 or something. You know, you can spend the extra 2,000 or 3,000 on top of that all-wheel drive to turn it into a performance. But I guess I find it a little bizarre that we're like, okay, here's the long range, here's the performance, but you can buy the acceleration boost on the long range and get close to performance. I'm like, this is just too complicated. If we're trying to simplify manufacturing, simplify the lineup, 2 variants, I think would cover most of the market. And if 300 isn't enough range for you, I still talk to people every week that are like, I need the 350. And I'm like, you're going to road trip with that thing and realize how little that comes up.
That's true.
You're going to start charging and realize, oh, you got to leave at like 60 or 70% and then keep going.
It's so hard to explain that to non-EV owners. And like, I don't blame them for their ignorance on it because they just don't know. But I tell people so much. Like, my biggest conversation that I have with non-EV owners when they want to do the whole battery talk with me is that, like, I have to tell them, like, you have to stop thinking charge to 100 equates to filling your tank up. It's not the same. You're not filling the tank up. You are.
And there's other factors of impacting range a lot more than just you have your battery capacity, but you get in a storm or you go uphill, and now that's not a 350. That's a
the way I try to simplify it as much as possible is that, like, with my car, I get these charging speeds up until this percentage, then it starts to slow down, slow down, slow down. And then when I'm trying to get to 100%, I'm like, I show like it starts eating into my dollar because I'm at the pump, and it's trickling. It's a literal trickle charge to 100%. When I don't need to get there. Like, but how will you not make it? It's like, this is not the last charging stop between here and wherever. So then I zoom out the map. I'm like, and I hit the little red icon. Look at all these superchargers just on the East Coast.
Right.
I will never not be without a charging station, ever.
Yeah. It really just comes down to a difference of trip time, and there's a bit of a difference between the long range and the rear wheel drive, but it's not as drastic as people think it is. You know, like with this drive that took all day, 15 hours of driving, I plugged in that same route with the Model 3 long range configured, and on a better route planner, we would have got here like 30 minutes faster. Yeah. It's not it's not like night and day. That's
when it comes to a 15-hour drive, 30 minutes doesn't mean anything.
No, that's just a couple extra stops at lunch or something, you know. That's that's a couple extra bathroom breaks. And also something on our last stretch, because the Tesla's overly cautious about everything, by the way, which is another, the route planners are like, oh, don't show up below 12%. It always is trying to be overly cautious, which to me eats into the benefit of having that extra range. It's like the Tesla's not going to let you go that full 350 anyway. Right. It's going to make you stop and have pop-ups. But on our last stretch here, it wanted us to stop so we could get to my parents' place at 20%. But we knew we could charge also for free at my parents' place. So we were like, no, we don't need to get here at 20%. So we ignored the stop. So we were in like Oregon, and we were like, I think it's far enough. We can make it on one charge. That's still, even with the rear wheel drive and everything, that's over 3 hours of driving.
Yeah. To
get from, and we weren't at full. We were at like 90%. But to go from a high state of charge all the way down to single digits at highway speed is typically still like 3+ hours. And even with comfortable seats and everything, you're kind of, anyone that's been driving for 3 hours straight is kind of like, okay, yeah, I want to get up and take a little break or something.
Absolutely.
So that's why I think leaving the super high range for the higher priced vehicles would be a good way to justify them while still bringing more luxury features like ventilated seats or a yoke to the 3. That's how I would structure it, but I'm sure there's many who disagree because obviously lots of people bought the long-range Model 3. That was probably their most popular trim before they took it down.
I'm most people.
You are most.
I am.
But
I don't regret it for at the time of what my lifestyle was with commutes and stuff like that. That was a cost analysis. Be like, is it worth stressing over? No. And so I put in that type of, that was an investment for me to just give me peace of mind. And I was, I was a first time Tesla owner, so I wasn't really, I didn't know what I was really getting into about, I guess what I'm trying to say is I didn't know how much faith I had in the batteries at that exact time in life. About now we have so much more data on these batteries. And there's so much more trust with the brand that I was ignorant. We just didn't know when in 20.
Well, and there wasn't LFP back then on the standard range, so that was. I also see your purchase as more of a. I would be more tempted to go long range too if there was only 2170s because you were buying a long term investment. You were like, even with the degradation, I want to still have 250 plus mile of range. Yeah. Whereas if you would have bought the standard range, I think at the time when you ordered, the standard range was like 240.
I think you're right. I remember it. And it was sub 250 for sure.
It would have degraded at the same rate or faster than your current car. So that would have turned into 200, 190 a lot faster. So I probably would have done the same thing as you in your position. Once we learned more about chemistries and once they introduced LFP, I felt a lot more comfortable having sub 300 mile range. I was on the fence for a long time whether or not to get the long range or rear wheel drive. But,
I remember, yeah.
Now that the cycle life is proven and minimal degradation, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. Plus the range is higher now. You know, the entry level's 270, not 240. So
we say this a lot with tech and just the state of things today. Like today's the worst it will ever be type of a conversation, and they are only going to keep getting better. I'm glad you have a better, more refined version than mine, because if you didn't, that means not much has been changing, and I would actually have reservations about that. I want to see those improvements. I'm glad that for all things given to the Model 3 that you have the more up to date, better performing, efficient version of that model. It makes me feel good that I would want to stay with this brand long term, because there's refinement. If yours was the exact same as mine after all these years, I'd be like, well, why buy new for starters? Why?
True.
Why even? I don't know. That would.
That's another motivation to consider buying new, is if there's improvement, even small improvement. You know, just incremental things here and there convince you. Okay, maybe I should consider it.
Yeah, you guys see what your needs are what they were at the time for me, are not what they are today.
Sure.
Hence why we not just with getting the Model Y, but if I was to get another 3, it would most likely be just the cheapest one I could afford. And if I was to get another 3, I probably would have just bought a 2022 this year. You know, like I wouldn't buy new if I could have saved some cash. But
knowing what I know now, I also probably wouldn't have made the same purchase just from using it in the way we've driven it and other life stuff that I didn't anticipate would change. I'm in the sunk cost mode at this point. It's like, we got it and I like it and I'm happy with it. Yeah. So because of depreciation and everything, there's no advantage to selling it or trying to trade it in for something else. I'm not going to gain anything by trying to. The best thing we can do is keep it, use it, appreciate it. But if our Tesla plan was delayed for whatever reason and we were in the market today, we didn't have one yet, I would have loved to try 2019 standard range, the one I told you not to buy. They're going used right now on Tesla's site for like 32,000, and I'm like, oh, that would be such a cool perspective, both for the channel and also I think it would probably be fine for like 95% of our driving, but there would be some annoyances here and there on the road trips. But
you couldn't just stop downgrading with your phones, huh? You want to do it to the car too.
I won't downgrade unless this one gets like in an accident and totaled or something. But
don't say
that. Yeah. I don't plan on downgrading it, but those prices were not available when we were in the market. You know, that was not an option. You could not get a used Model 3 for 30,000, but now you can, and you just have to put up with much lower range. I think a lot of them are sub 200, but I'd be curious because I keep advocating for range doesn't matter as much as you think. It's more about the charging network and the charging speed. I'd be really curious to do this drive with like a 190 mile range. I'd love to see if that's possible, if it can be done, or how much longer it takes. I don't know, but I think it'd be educational. My wife probably wouldn't enjoy it as much. But
your car, if you're buying it through Tesla, you'll also get FSD with it.
Oh yeah, sometimes they include it, or I've seen some with enhanced autopilot, but I don't. I'm like you. I've lost so much interest. We were talking about that when we got up here. So much. I'm sorry, we almost went a whole episode without talking about it. But so much hope and optimism has just been lost over the years. Like so much doubt. Like, because I posted my road trip video. I was like, this is so cool. We're having a great time. We're charging and no gas. And we got here faster than we expected to. We made good time. And there were people like, oh, you should just subscribe to FSD for a month and have those perks on the road. And it was like, we did that to your baby shower. And it was horrible. Like, the phantom braking was crazy. It wanted to change lanes at all the wrong times. And the braking was awful. It didn't adjust the speeds properly. And at the end of the day, even if it was good, $200. And the charging fees were $59.
Yeah.
What's the point of doing this whole, it'll be cheaper to road trip, it doesn't cost as much, if you spend $50 on the charging but $200 on the self-driving, which doesn't
And for
even
context
really...
to what you're saying with the $50,
Yeah.
you live 8+ hours away from me in San Diego.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
you have to stop. You have to. There's a
Right.
few stops in between, both ways. So it wasn't like you're taking the whole trip analysis of what you have to pay just to get from A to B, and then you're zhuzhing it up with FSD, and it costs and it saves you money. It's cheaper to subscribe when it's the most expensive by more than half.
More than it would have cost us more than 3 times the money. I can't justify that even as a business expense.
You would spend less money going from California to Virginia.
Yeah, probably. I haven't worked out the math, but probably. Yeah, it didn't make us feel comfortable.
Yeah.
It made us feel uncomfortable, like you've experienced and shared on the show many times. Is like, even just using free autopilot, my wife at several points was like, it's like waking up people in the car when it's jerking around or it brakes too hard. It's like, maybe it would be a different story. Maybe I would feel differently if the Tesla assumed liability. That could be a different discussion. Would you spend $200 if it meant you could like sleep in the car or watch a movie in the car? I'm not saying that would definitely convince me to buy it, but that would be a different argument. Yeah. But the point is, even with $200, hands are on the wheel, eyes are on the road. It does stupid crap from time to time. Autopilot covers the basics, and it's not an extra $200 experience in my opinion. Right. Even ruling out the $15,000, that's not even up for debate.
You did not get $200 worth of value out of it.
We were all super disappointed. My sister was in the car, and my wife was in the car, and they were just like, I have so much regret right now for signing up. She was like, I know, we were talking about it once we got here. She was like, I know I said before we got the car that we could sub a couple months out of the year. I don't want to do that anymore. It's like, I've lost all interest in even getting it on occasion.
Yeah.
My fingers are crossed that they improve the free autopilot with the single stack code, hopefully, because it's still making very basic mistakes. Incredibly simple things they could fix that cause major annoyances. But when there's major annoyances going on, my natural instinct is not to, let me give it more money and then it'll perform better. That doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like if you're at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And you get food and you don't like the food or the service. Oh man, we should have ordered something more expensive. Maybe it would taste better if we spent more money. No, that's not your instinct.
I got the food. The service was terrible. The food was terrible. We should go back.
The problem is we ordered the cheap stuff.
Yeah.
We should have spent $300 there instead of $100.
Yeah.
That's not your gut instinct when you're getting.
Yeah.
I will say, on a more exciting note, the road trip here has made me rethink my Aptera order quite a bit. Now I'm... Randy did his rock eyebrow.
I just want...
That's good. You're very good at that.
You can't have all the skill of impersonating people. I can't do Ryan Reynolds, so at least I could do is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
You could do Ryan. I thought you were good at Ryan, but
I felt more than Ben Shapiro.
Did you want to dive into that, or do we need to get into tech? Because I have to go in like hour 15.
My gut says let's get into it, and we'll be mindful of the time. I want to get it. Listen, people who are listening to the show right now on this one, this is where we're at. This is where we want to be. The other one, this is our passion. Tech is a job. Tech is the 9 to 5, and this is what we're doing after work or before work.
9 to 5 Mac. Yeah.
Okay, so my gut says let's talk about. I'll be mindful of the clock. We won't drag it out. I won't waste too much time. But yeah, let's hear it. I'm curious.
What I didn't account for, because my original thought was I want the 1,000 miles of range, because this drive from our house to my parents' place is about 800 miles.
Yeah.
So I thought, what if we could do that nonstop? What I didn't account for is I got here, and we're using the Tesla to move around family and friends that we're visiting all the time. We haven't gotten in my parents' gas vehicles during this entire trip. It's like every time we want to go somewhere, they're like, no, let's take the car. Like, it'll be cheaper. It uses electricity. And it's more fun. It's more, futuristic than the gas cars. So they're all like, yeah, let's take the car. Do you mind driving? That's happened a lot. They're like, do you mind driving? I was like, mind, I prefer. Like, I don't want to get in the old. I don't want to get in the
Sire, it would be my honor.
Like, I'd love to. So there has been 4 major drives out of the last 5 days where all 5 seats in the Model 3 are occupied. Like, we're full. And couple that with, okay, we did the drive, and maybe I forgot because I haven't done this drive since last, I think it was July.
Yeah.
Last time I was here. We did with the Sonata. I did not account for how nice and how much more enjoyable a road trip is when you take breaks.
Yeah.
Like, with the Sonata last year, the whole motivation was just, let's make good time, because we're not going to make good money. We're not going to save a lot.
Yeah.
It's gas. It's going to cost a lot. We kind of just accepted that. It's a high range vehicle. So our goal was, let's just see how quick we can get this over with. So you're driving for for us, it was 6-hour stretches nonstop. And, that was miserable, but it was quick, good trip time, but we were exhausted. Whereas on this drive, even though it was longer, it was the 15 hours, I was still like, anytime, once we were low on charge, I was low on charge, my body was low on charge. So you'd get out, you'd plug in. I got to make those little videos where I'm like, hey, how fast are we charging? How much speed can we get? And, here's how this charger's looking, if it's busy or not. And I was like, this is fun. Like, I like when the trip isn't go.
It's not a chore. Yeah, it's like, right. Oh my God.
It's no longer a chore.
Dragging it out.
It's just like, it was fun to take breaks and to walk around and to see. And like, we stopped at the Mount Shasta supercharger, and it was dark when we first got there. But as we got closer to full, the sun came up, and we saw this creek in the back. And I was looking at the snowy mountains, and I was like, I would have just driven right past this.
Right. Yeah.
If I was in the Sonata, or if I was in the Aptera with the 1,000-mile range, would just make good time. So
you're learning the lesson of the journey is the reward.
It is. And I really enjoyed the journey. This trip made me appreciate those stops a lot more, to the point where I'm like looking forward to the next stop. I'm like, okay, can we take a break? Can I get out and stretch my legs a little bit, or get a snack, or get some dinner or something? So, you can still take breaks in the Aptera. I guess my logic was more, you wouldn't have to take breaks by the charger. You could stop whenever. But it's making me rethink, okay, even if we did drive up here, if we took the Aptera, that means for all of the visit my sister, which I'm going to do in about an hour, or visiting family, running errands and stuff, we couldn't take the Aptera because it's only 2 seats.
Yeah.
So we would have to take the gas vehicle when we're visiting, unless it's just 2 people. So that compromise, I'm now second guessing of like, okay, I still want an Aptera. It's not making me not want one. I'm just debating whether or not this use case, just because this was the main motivation to get the 1,000 mile range, because we knew we have a growing number of family members up here and we don't want to move, but we do want to visit frequently.
You don't want to move.
This is the kind of road
yet.
trip. I think ever.
Oh, okay. Are we getting a Taylosive exclusive? Oh, never mind. All right.
Way too much snow up here for us. I don't want to deal with that.
That's
also fair. It's not cheap. It's way more expensive real estate wise up here than where we're from. I know everyone has that logic. California bad, everywhere else cheap. It's not always the case. But now I'm debating, like, should I opt for the lower range, more efficient one that might be ready sooner, or should I just take the 1,000 and just take more breaks? Maybe I should just enjoy it and not have the stress of charging it, but just pull off if you want to sightsee, and then you can make great time if you need to, but you don't need to.
Well, let me ask you this:
give me that wiggle room.
If it's making you reevaluate the reservation slot that you put in so far, what I said it earlier. I guess this really is my headspace. What problem is it fixing then? The 1,000 mile, like, what do you need that for? What do you need the Aptera for then? And okay, maybe need is okay. Yes, I get it. Nobody needs it. I get it. But where do you see it actually adding benefit or value or purpose in your lineup, in your household then, if not this road trip necessarily? Because I remember I don't know. I to be honest with you, I completely forgot. I did not know we talked about this on camera, because I know offline you definitely stressed the Aptera was meant for this trip. And trips like it, where it's like, I'm going to be on the road all day, so it'd be nice to have that range capacity for it. But it is true. Like, it's fresh on my head because it wasn't that long ago when I went down to Florida. The stops along the way were not painful. I did not mind getting out, stretching.
It's good for your body. Your body's not meant to be sitting that long. It doesn't matter how good the chair is. It's not a proper position for 3-4 hours of driving, which we've done it, but you feel it when you get up. You're like, oh.
Yeah, everything hurts, and you got to stretch, and things are cracking and popping. Your body's like, hey, it's not. So I hear you. I get it with the stopping thing. So I guess, but where does this fit in your life then, if not trips like this? Before you say something though, let me make a case for it. Keeping the 1,000 mile range one. It's a cool thought that you don't need the range, but it's there as like on reserve for whenever you want to. If anything else, just so you don't have to plug up every 3 days or 5. You could go a very long time, and theoretically, if we get those solar panels on it, you don't ever have to plug up. Just leave it alone, and you alternate between, taking the 3 or the Aptera around. I can see a case for just having it there, just to have it on standby. And it's a cool thing that's like, hey, how much miles left? 800. Okay. Yeah. And then, like,
you don't even hear that in the gas car world.
I know. Yeah. 1 month later, hey, how much range is out there? Oh, we got like 250. Okay. It's like it doesn't hurt nothing. My issue for you then.
It's weird to think that Aptera at 25% would have like the same range as my Model 3 at 100. Isn't that weird?
It is weird to say that out loud. Like,
it's like, oh, we're only at 25.
Oh,
that's
God.
One whole Model 3.
Oh, we're dropping it below 20%. Thank God. We got enough range there. My only issue with the Aptera for you then is the cabin capacity then, if moving people around.
That is the biggest compromise with it, I think, for sure.
So I don't have a case for that one. I can make a case about keeping the 1,000 mile range, but I don't know about the cabin part of it. So anyway, with that, what is your thoughts then? Where does it fit in the lineup? What value does it bring? What problem does it fix?
Well, the value is definitely in the efficiency of it. Even if there was no solar at all and it
Yeah.
was purely plugged in, it is on track based on our efficiency currently with the Model 3. It would be on track to cost less than half as much to charge than the Model 3
Nice.
without solar.
Yeah.
Factoring in solar, you're talking free road trips. If you leave that thing out in the sun in preparation for those charges you bank up over time, you're like, hey, we're going to be leaving on Friday, so on Monday or whatever, I'm going to set the charge limit to full because it's not LFP, so you got to leave it at 80 most of the time. But you want it to soak in those last bit of electrons before the big road trip. So if you're leaving it out charging itself, you're talking bringing this trip expense down from $120 round trip to perhaps nothing. Maybe even if you are paying for it from the grid up here, 6 cents a kilowatt hour, like it's nothing. It would be like paying $20 or $30 for the whole drive. So there's a cost savings of, if we take the Aptera, we'll save money. Not a lot, but it's something. And I still reserve some judgment for like the ride comfortability. I don't know how much better it will be. I like the yoke idea, so the Aptera could have the yoke and hopefully open pilot. So that would mean hands-free driver assist. Don't have to keep my hands on it, and it just tracks my eyes. That might be more enjoyable than autopilot. Because it's not as stupid, or it actually gets updates instead of Tesla going, oh, you'll get updates if you get invited to our special invite-only club and pay $15,000. Versus, no, you buy the little comma.ai thing, you plug it in, and it works. It doesn't do everything, but for highway driving, it would be perfect, I think. Also, I think storage space would be Aptera advantage. Not person storage, but like 32 cubic feet behind that hatch versus the Model 3 is like 25, I think, or something. So I could fit more in the Aptera. We could save more with the Aptera and also put less miles on the Model 3, which means less tire wear, less tire maintenance. Aptera being so much lighter, the tires won't wear out as fast, and there's only 3 of them. So even if they over time need to be serviced and replaced, you're only buying 3 instead of 4, and they're smaller, so they're cheaper tires. They're off the shelf tires. They're not like special grade tires. So there's all kinds of cost saving advantages and efficiency advantages of the Aptera. I guess the solution is my parents need to buy an EV, and then we wouldn't mind.
Right.
If they have a,
then they get to
Model
drive
3.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the solution, but I don't know how soon that is. But Aptera is not around the corner either. We've got some time on that too. So it does make me debate, though, after I did that video on the hyper-efficient Aptera, which is supposed to be the one they do after the launch edition with the really small battery pack that uses even less than 100 watt-hours per mile. I was like, if we do end up just using the Aptera as more of a commuter, not commute to work, but like drive around town as long as there's only 2 people in the car, which a lot of the time it's just me and my wife. So if that's all we were using it for was driving around town, it would be much, much cheaper to drive than the Model 3. Basically nothing. It would practically be free to drive, but wouldn't be the road tripper, I guess. So I'm still, it's all up in the air now, because I'm like, I think I want to continue taking breaks and stops. So maybe prioritizing 1,000 miles isn't necessary as much as I thought it was, or needs to be. And so now I'm second guessing the whole decision. I still want one. I'm just not sure which one.
Well, let's not forget you also you chose the 1,000-mile one because that would be, at the time when you placed the order, that would be the last one to be touched. So it gives you the most time for all of it.
for the referrals to kick in and stuff too.
Yeah. So that
Because I wish I could know how many people with the launch edition used my referral code. It's like,
do they not tell you?
They just tell you how many Aptera points you have, but they don't say, here's how many Aptera points are like in the accelerator program. I'd be curious to see that. Like, there's how many slots filled now? There's like, I think 900 people that are on the accelerator program.
Okay.
I'm curious, like, if I have any referrals on the accelerator program, that would mean I would have a bunch of redeemed Aptera points ready as production first starts. That, you know, the other motivation was like, well, if I referred a bunch of people with Aptera points, you should probably redeem as many of those as you can, because otherwise those points are just going to have to be reserved for, you know, a second Aptera, which I don't think we're interested in, or you feel like you over-referred, basically. Like, a bunch of people used your points for no reason.
Yeah.
Or used your code and you put it for nothing, just so you could sit on it. So it's like, okay, if people are using your code, it's because, like, okay, they want you to review more Aptera tech or more Aptera products. So why not get basically like the maxed out version, get the most high-end version so that you can review it, say whether or not you think it's justified, or talk about like what does an Aptera fully unlocked enable, you know, like.
Let me make another case.
I want to be responsible.
I want to make another case for the 1,000-mile range one.
Okay.
It's everything in size and capacity, and just it's everything that your Model 3 isn't. So if you're going to review something,
true,
it is a perfect yang to your yin. It is it is opposite in all things. It's the smallest. It's the furthest. It's be the cheapest.
Yeah.
So
true.
I if anything, it would be, there would be no overlap on the 3 at all. So in that sense, you're not cheaping your experience with having a second EV in the house. It's not a Tesla, so there's another opposite. Like, it's everything, and the only thing that it has in common is how it charges up top.
Yeah, the NACS
pop.
connector.
There we go.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's something you don't want to change.
That's something we
that's a mandate. We both have that in common. We want all our EVs with NACS.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't finish watching the interview, the Rivian interview that Marquez did.
Oh, it was good.
I'm curious, did they address the charging with the NACS and stuff like that? Was that brought up?
I was disappointed. No, that was the one thing I felt like he really, really missed out on. That would have been an excellent question, because I'm very curious. I bet RJ has an answer, and it's probably a bad one. But
I want to hear it.
But I'd still like to hear it. I want to hear his logic.
Yeah.
Because that could help me get behind. Because he talked about not supporting CarPlay. And
that's exactly where I stopped. I'm up to that
Yeah.
point where he's like, well, you know, because he was like, Apple says over 80% of the people won't buy a car. And so and then, you know, life happens. So I didn't.
Rivian looks at their wait list. Really?
Yeah, I got up to the
Apple
CarPlay thing. So
97% of people will only buy a car if it has CarPlay. Rivian's backlog.
Is that right?
That's interesting.
I'm a changed man and a believer in the software myself. After my Colorado trip, I realized how frustrating it was utilizing CarPlay the way it was, and it was wireless too. So it was like, it's supposed to be all premium and stuff. Like, oh man, it was buggy.
Probably the best implementation I saw was a friend of ours had it in Florida. They had I think I told this story. It was on a Hyundai Santa Cruz, and it was on a pretty big. They had a pretty big center display, but it was all CarPlay, nothing else. And I was like, it's cute. It thinks it's cool, but it's just the apps. He never touched it.
You know, this is probably going to bleed into that is funny though. That's that's funny. That's funny. This will bleed into tech, and maybe this is a good segue to end here. But It does make me wonder, with Dub, are we going to see the next gen CarPlay and how that's going to be introduced because that
I
was
hope
announced
so.
last year, and now I want to see what this like. It's on Apple. It's on Apple to convince me why I need to integrate your system, your software into my vehicle, because once I got
So
back,
you're,
once I got back into
you're
the
saying
three,
they would.
go ahead.
Sorry, we got a delay.
Yeah,
now.
no, you're good. Go ahead.
We're all
Go ahead.
good. You're basically saying you want them because they showcase what it looks like hypothetically, but you're saying you want there to be like a brand with a real car that showcases it at Dub Dub.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
see.
Yeah, no. Sell me this pen. You know,
Right.
like I make me
What
want it.
brand
Show
would
me.
you want it?
Oh, that's a good question. I definitely don't want Lucid.
I was going to say Lucid would be kind of cool.
Honestly,
They're already halfway there. They
chances
got
are
the-
they're gonna act like they're gonna act like they're not even interested in EVs for the sake of keeping some big surprise when they do Project Titan out loud.
Isn't that so
Weird.
backwards though?
It is.
Isn't
They're
that-
purposely
Apple being like we're going to use only recycled cobalt in our batteries, and we're going to hit carbon neutral in 7 years. Oh yeah, the Audi.
the new
That's God's
BMW
CarPlay.
will have a keyless entry from your phone,
Right.
Like the Tesla app. No. This one runs on gas.
Great.
Like they're
That's what we
purposely
like.
aligning themselves with gas vehicles to make their transition with the Apple car a big what? Like
Yeah.
they're so in their universe of
What?
yeah.
What's an electric car?
Yeah,
What?
they're so in their own head about acting like they got this grand reveal with EVs, like it's some novelty concept. When it's like, dude, you guys are so late to this. I don't even care anymore. Like, and on God, if you come out and you tell me you're not like, oh yeah, ever using CCS, we riot. We take to the streets because I'm. Never mind. Mike's not here. I'm not going to provoke no jokes. I'm going to make a certain date in history look like a joke. But
Well, personally, I think, I mean, it would help Lucid drastically if they were in Dub Dub, you know? Like if they... Can't you just picture Craig getting in one of those?
no, because
Airs.
like to be quite frank,
No.
after everything with like to just as blunt, like, Lucid just pisses me off, man. They these
Did
guys
you see their numbers?
Yes!
Their production and delivery.
But we're gonna keep paying $1,000 to have a special check mark on a social media platform.
They
That's
have to pay Elon for their street cred. It's kind of hilarious how that works. I thought Lucid of all companies wouldn't want the golden check, but
No. Lucid just straight up irritates me. I don't want them anywhere near Apple because that is
Okay.
that is a collab worse than Goldman Sachs. I just like it's gonna devalue some stuff. I'm not interested in it. If we're gonna see
I might disagree a little bit, but
I know what your
on.
reasoning is, but they both suck that way. Like, I want them to make the case as to why this next gen CarPlay is going to be great. And, like, what brand I would want to see them work with? Probably, honestly, it would, knowing them, they'll do Mercedes, they'll do BMW. Hyundai actually seems to get a lot of the new tech stuff early from them. When I look at the website with what CarPlay features, Hyundai does pretty extensive like hands-on stuff with them, which I don't mind. I don't know why it's then not translated to the Kia because it's two sides of
well,
the
that's
same.
what confuses me. That whole GMP platform still requires wired CarPlay. They don't have wireless, which is like
no, but the Hyundai one does. That one's wireless. But I can tell you the wireless sucks. When I did it with the Audi, the Audi sucked. It crashed. It kept crashing. Audi, a company known for like quality and just refinement and luxury, crashed. I was like, this is not. I'm not running an old iPhone 7 on this thing. This is
Yeah.
This should be fine, and it was not fine. It was not cash money at all, and the way that the Audi like logos on top like interfered with the display. The cleanest iteration of CarPlay I ever saw was with the Jetta. The Jetta was nothing but CarPlay. There was no manufacturer imprint on it, and I was like, okay, I can work with Jetta.
Well, but how would you feel about Ford has doubled down, saying they will, unlike GM, who said we're going to leave CarPlay. Ford said we're going to continue supporting CarPlay and Android Auto. F-150, best-selling vehicle in the country. How would you feel about a Lightning enhanced CarPlay demo at Dub Dub? Or is that too pickup truck friendly?
It would work if they were showcasing this in Texas. F-150 doesn't have...
Here's our Texas quarters to tell you more about it. And they zoom out. They go to the whole planet.
Yeah, and
they go zoom into Texas.
The second
and there's a bunch of bullets flying by the camera.
California, get out of here!
You see Craig with the big cowboy hat. He's on a horse. I'm very excited to talk about CarPlay on the F-150.
We're constantly thinking of ways to reinventing ourselves. always keeping us on our toes.
You just see like there's like a Google guy in the distance, and Craig just pulls out his revolver and just
wow, wow, wow.
That's the speed of Apple Silicon. Just a whole Texas themed episode.
They should totally do that. Oh, I would love that. Yeah, I don't see F-150 being very Silicon Valley friendly.
Probably not.
Nah, those guys.
That's true.
That is oil and water like that.
Apple's not a pickup truck company, you know. Nope. You can't work there if you own a pickup.
They don't. They'll look at you. If they even think you might look somewhat remotely conservative, you're out of there.
They'd want like, you're right, like a luxury sedan, sporty looking. Yeah. Maybe a Polestar?
I was thinking that. I was thinking like what's a like newer like,
but still legacy auto.
Exactly, yeah. Well, what's the one that you think the new Gen Z would want to be like, yeah, this is hip and cool, that's not the other word that starts with T?
Yeah, how do we do not Tesla, but startups are too risky to partner
Polestar
with?
Feels appropriate. I would say like Genesis. You got to do something that's like not Nissan, GM. You don't want Honda, like all these other guys that don't really need you. They're indifferent about all that. That's not sexy. Those are just working cars. You need a status symbol like a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi, but those, I mean, knowing them will be one of those, but and for the everyday American, and then there's just, you got this, a Beamer pull up, and it's like, the average working guy like you and me, and they jump in completely. That's the thing. Apple is so detached from this whole thing, because then they'll surprise you next year. Remember we showed you CarPlay? Well, now let me show you car. Now it's time to go. You got CarPlay. Now it's time to go play in the car. Yeah, CarPlay, car key, car.
That makes so much sense. That must be what they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I bet there's a big line of like automakers that are hoping to be featured, sure, at the Apple event. They're like, please pick me. And Apple just gets to, who do we want to boost sales for free, basically?
Who is a good long-term collaborator that will do? I think it'd be Hyundai, to be honest. Like that's
Really?
on the
Which
Apple.
Hyundai?
I would say I think is it the Sonata? I'm gonna pull it up because like I go on the website every.
Oh, not an EV. You're still on
Maybe
they
the
gotta
plug-in.
do gas.
No, it's gonna be a plug-in. It's gonna be a plug-in. Apple CarPlay
Sonata, probably.
support. Supported cars. Here we go. All right, yeah. The list that I always see them featured. Yeah, Acura sucks. They're not gonna have that one. Audi, nothing. I scroll until I look for the first key. That BMW has the keyless entry. And,
Right. I remember them showcasing that during the Apple event.
Yeah. Ferrari. Yeah, right. Okay. Fiat, nope. Dang, Ford has nothing. No keyless, nothing. Genesis does.
They have CarPlay.
They do have CarPlay, but no, I'm talking about
sure.
like the keyless entry.
Car key.
Here's how
I
I'm
see.
narrowing it down. It's whichever manufacturer allows the keyless entry on the phone.
That's a good theory because that means it's Apple approved.
Yes.
Like you checked all our requirements to reach Apple friendliness.
The Palisade. I don't know how to pronounce this. There's only one car from Hyundai that Palisade. Anyway, it's a 2023. So I saw Genesis. Saw them. Does Kia have it? Kia does have it. Okay, so maybe Kia, the Telluride or the Niro. The Niro, that one is a plug-in.
Okay.
So the 2023 has the keyless entry, and none of the premium vehicles have it. That's so funny. Except BMW. BMW has it, but no other one. I just passed Lexus. They don't have it.
That would be the obvious choice. They already showcased the BMW. They could just showcase it again at the event.
That's why I feel
And
like it
now
would be that
CarPlay
one.
goes everywhere.
Okay, so
That's disappointing.
it is. All right, I went through the list. It would either be the Hyundai, the Kia,
Okay.
the BMW, or the Genesis, because those are the only ones that have the keyless entry. That I don't think I missed one. So I would say me personally, give it to Kia or Genesis. Polestar I didn't see on this list yet. So if we're talking about like a new contender, do Polestar, but Kia, Genesis, BMW, I think is going to be the most obvious one. So I'm not trying to pick that one. But those are the guys that that's the company that will get the next gen showcased, and I will still be very underwhelmed because going back to what we were talking about with the Rivian interview and stuff like that. Like I've had a change of heart. I believe in the first party software integrated system because they know what's best and it's most optimized for it.
I think it's a really tough debate because both sides have fairly. I think it was who was it? Maybe it was Ben Sullins. He was arguing as to why he wanted CarPlay on his Rivian because he was like, our lives are managed on our phones. You know, our phones have just become such an integral part of our ecosystem. We carry around everything, and we've got our calendar, we've got our texts, we've got our third-party apps and services. Like these just hold so much of our lives now that it's not a bad idea at all. It's a mandatory thing to try to extend that experience to the vehicle and to have that symmetry so that you can access all the things on your phone also on that center display. So I understand the passion behind it, but the way RJ phrased it,
I would say make a better app that integrates the car then, in the sense that like Tesla has the best app, period. Not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
And I get the same symmetry using the app on my phone or making calls or changing music on my display in the car that communicates with my phone. You've
got Apple Music now.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, here's a conversation that we haven't had yet, and because we don't really know where we stand. We're using the 30-day free trial with the premium connectivity.
Right.
Brittany really likes it. she's really about it.
Oh, she does.
She's like,
Okay.
maybe it's worth it. I don't want to have to touch my phone and do that. I just want it to just work, right? So she goes, maybe that's worth it. I like seeing traffic coordinates and that's bad traffic right there. It's like, well, we're routed the same way. She goes, we're routed, but it gives me peace of mind if I see there's trouble ahead. Maybe I know a different way that the GPS isn't taking me.
That's true.
And
the
that
GPS kind of sucks.
it does suck. So she's making a case for paying the 10 a month or 100 a year, and I'm like, ooh, we'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. But all that being said,
I think it's worth at least trying without it. Just see if you can get by. Like you have
I've
it
done
now.
for years.
which
I've
is-
never paid for it ever.
Yeah, you've never. I think you got a year, right? Didn't
I
you
had a
get-
year. Yeah.
I see. So you got used to it, and then it was taken away, and it didn't convince you
It didn't
to
hurt.
come back.
Well,
so.
the thing is, Tesla made a case to sell me on it by improving it. Now you can do Apple Music, not just karaoke or whatever. You can listen to the more built-in features. You don't have to do the hot spot on your phone to then play.
Yeah.
You know.
Also, you can view the cameras from the app.
And that
Which
is the selling
It's a
point
pretty
for
big
Brittany.
security thing.
She really likes that.
Oh,
a lot.
really?
Yeah. That's the biggest
Wow.
one. Was the Sentry. She likes that.
That
the
was
most.
cool. I used it a lot in my first month, and then over time I realized it doesn't let you view the Sentry incidents from the phone. So it's cool that it does it. I like that feature, but also
Later in
you're
the
just
year.
kind of hoping. Yeah,
It comes later.
that's coming 2 weeks.
Yeah, in 2 weeks.
You're just kind of hoping that you catch something in the act from the app.
Yeah.
So maybe I would feel differently if they let you view the recordings. They were like, there was an incident, and then you can watch it. But that's not what it is. It's just live time view. Yep, looks good. Then put your phone.
away
It's
from my
like,
car.
how long can you?
Get away.
Yeah, right. You talk out of it. It's cool that it does that, but yeah, I got pretty used to not having it too.
Yeah.
After a while.
So that's a case of where Tesla keeps improving the app, and I get the
Right.
symmetry all the
Right.
same. So Apple CarPlay for me, like, it doesn't change how your life is tied to the phone. It asks when you pair your phone, do you want to pair your contacts, your messages, and be notified and all that and the other.
Calendar too is one I've really noticed.
But the thing is, like, when you're driving, I don't want to be distracted by that stuff.
Yeah, right. You don't think about
I want
all
the
that.
music, I
That's
want the
true.
audio happening, and I want my GPS, and that's already built in. So I'm not. It's I like how clean CarPlay is, yes, but
It just makes me want an Apple car. It doesn't make me want CarPlay on
yeah.
Tesla. Because, what we like about iOS and what we like about Apple is first-party everything. First-party hardware, software, App Store, everything is native, and people like that ecosystem when it's well-maintained and well-optimized. But CarPlay on a Tesla or CarPlay on a Rivian isn't what you love about Apple. That's the other company that has to control some of the software and all the hardware. But then Apple comes in and has to take control. Lucid has the worst, I don't know about the worst, but pretty crappy CarPlay integration, right? Because they've got that display that curves out to the side, but CarPlay has to be this square. So it just kind of sticks there. And it doesn't feel like well integrated, in my opinion. Like it feels tacked on, which kind of goes against, I feel like, the Apple ethos. They were like, oh, what?
It is the iPad getting an iPhone app.
Yeah.
It's that.
Right, the Apple Music Classical. They put that on the iPad. It's just the blown out. That's what it feels like. It's like, see, it's on iPad. It'd be like, see, we have CarPlay.
Stop lying.
It's like,
Stop lying to me.
but just like you, I'm excited to see how they try to sell us on that enhanced CarPlay, because there's a lot that goes into a vehicle. Maybe less so with a gas vehicle, but especially with an EV, with charging curves, self-driving visualizations, or cruise control level 2 ADAS and everything.
Yeah.
I'm very curious, like, how far can enhanced CarPlay go? Like, does that mean there has to be a button for charge port and for the hatch automatically opening and
I
closing?
think so.
Do you need to have a UI element for your charging speed? Or
Imagine they push it all like this. This is so Apple. Oh, and you can access all these features by talking to Siri.
right, Siri GPT will have complete control. But no, I'm kind of dreading the idea of my answer to that would be I hope CarPlay has complete control.
Yeah.
As in, if a company like Polestar or like Lucid or whoever says we support enhanced CarPlay, that should mean the CarPlay experience extends over everything. It should cover 100% of the user interface, the speed, the software version you're on, or the fuel in the tank, or the state of charge of the battery pack. It can give you an alert that says battery pack preconditioning. I know that's going to be complicated and probably really hard to implement, but that's the only way I would be interested in CarPlay, is if it was total, complete control. But that's probably not what's going to happen.
Right.
It's probably going to be another mix where it's like, oh, well, to access tire settings or something, or navigation set, you got to go into the actual car UI. And then you have this weird kind of handshake.
Here's why you're on the nose with that, because the only way it gets around that is when you get it first party through the Apple car. That's what I'm calling it now. It's the Apple car.
Official name now. Yeah, we just do car squared. Car.
That's the
But
only way.
yeah, you're right.
That's
Like,
the only way. And then
would
they
you be in
upsell
favor
it.
of that? Maybe not a car per se, because I personally have lost all faith that Apple has the, I'll say guts, for lack of a better body part. Apple doesn't have the guts to release
Show me your guts.
official.
I need to see your
I don't
guts.
Right. I don't think Apple has the guts to release a full-on vehicle.
You don't have the stones.
They don't have the neural cores to make it happen. But
Yeah.
they seem to be more aggressive now with this CarPlay crap. And you say, like, Apple needs to have more control. How would you feel about Apple doing, like, you know how the GMP platform, the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 6, and the EV6, they all have the same fundamental pieces?
Yeah.
So they have the same display layout. What if Apple sold to manufacturers like a template setup that included steering wheel, controls, driver display, and a center display, and that's what you have to buy in order to get fully unlocked, CarPlay,
Yeah.
CarPlay Pro or whatever, and it's powered by M1, M2, or M3. There's an Apple Silicon chip in there that's powering everything, and
CarPlay Max, CarPlay There's CarPlay and there's CarPlay Ultra Max Plus.
So as long as
S.
you buy that special access, you can embed it in any kind of dashboard you want. You can make it luxurious. You can cover it in fake leather, real leather, or Alcantara. So other companies can kind of turn it into what they want to make it more stylish or fashionable. But do you think that would be kind of too niche or too out there? Or
I would be in favor if there's still a fallback, like first party display, if CarPlay was to crash.
Ah, I see.
Because now, like, here's the thing.
You've seen CarPlay crash.
I've seen it crash, and I think about how I think about how my Tesla, how the computer crashes when I'm driving.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, man, it's so annoying. Let me tell you, dude.
That's never happened to me yet.
I've unplugged my third-party Nomad charging pad that I have.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was crashing my car.
Really?
Like, it became multiple times a drive.
Huh.
If I'm just driving 10 minutes one direction, it crashed once
That's
or twice.
fascinating. I
I
didn't know it had that much authority.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to charge my phone here.
the F you will. Done. And it's the moment.
My father-in-law joked about that. I was like, you want to charge your phone here? He was like, oh, I don't want to kill the car. It's going to run it out of range if I plug in my phone. I think he's joking, but I
I,
can't tell.
I, I don't want to steal from the range. That's funny. But yeah, so I would say with Apple CarPlay, if that was built in and they had like a dedicated, like say like an M whatever chip in there, you got something that powers it the way, an M or an A chip is powering a HomePod. Like it pushes, info out that way. But
right. Some way to run independently.
It needs to.
If the phone is disconnected,
it needs to have a fallback that if the screen or if the information crashes, because it's a computer, it's inevitable. You want, because my only frustration with the Tesla is that like when the computer goes down and it has to reboot, I'm waiting 2-3 minutes, and sometimes I have a turn coming up and I don't know where it is anymore, and I experienced that when I was just driving. I'm like, pull it up on your map real quick. I need to see. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
And like it's stressful because like I see like, oh, exits in 2 miles. Boom. I'm blind. Like, wait. Remember A Bug's Life with the leaf? I'm lost. That's me completely forgetting how to drive again without my GPS going. Exit coming up in 2 miles. I'm driving blind. It's okay, Randy. Calm down. We're gonna crash.
I had no idea it was that often for you.
It got that bad. It wasn't that often at first, and then within the last.
But it doesn't. Does it not happen without the charger attached?
I unplugged the Nomad. It hasn't crashed since.
Wow, that's fascinating. I did not realize that was possible. Wow, low reviews for the Nomad. Then that's not good.
It makes me think that like, did it have
car.
like a shelf life of 3-something years, and then after that it's going to start to die out on me?
They want you to buy a new one.
I spent 120 bucks. No.
See, it's just like full self-driving. If it's not good enough, you just need to give more money to it. That's what you should have bought, the Nomad Max station.
Stupid me for thinking. Hey, if Nomad offers like a MagSafe one, I won't say no, probably, to be honest. I don't know.
MagSafe would be cool. Did you like the part in the Rivian interview where RJ... I liked how Marquez was like, this wireless charger, my phone keeps sliding around on it. And he's like, yeah, that sucks. We need to fix that. He was like, that was a bad idea. And he said they have a fix coming for it. But there's a third-party company that does MagSafe pucks on that charger. So you just drop your phone right there. I want Tesla to do that. MagSafe would be cool.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I MagSafe all things when possible.
Not that I could use it, but
well,
it should still have it.
It should still have it because it doesn't take anything away from your thing,
Yeah, it still works as a Qi charger anyway. But yeah, I think I didn't think about that. That's something I'm now realizing, right? Like some people might get in the car and not want to set up CarPlay or not have a phone that supports it, or some people might just drive without their phones occasionally. Not a lot, but that means to support that enhanced CarPlay, the manufacturer still needs to have a whole default UI that works without the iPhone.
Yeah.
It's very complicated.
So I don't think there's I don't think there's a scenario where Apple would have full control of the car.
I think the only scenario, it's not a likely one, I agree, but the only scenario where they could is if it was independently running. It had an M1 chip in it or something, and it was like a kit that manufacturers could buy from Apple to integrate. Maybe this isn't CarPlay anymore. Maybe we're pitching Car OS, where the car from the
that was the first name of it. They called it Car OS before.
They did?
Before CarPlay was a thing. They called it, they called it iPhone for car. It was something stupid. Hang on, Eddie Q called it
iPhone for car.
iOS
iOS for your car or something. Yeah.
iOS for the car.
Remember.
It was something like that. But then they dubbed it. They were dubbing it Car OS. Car OS.
Huh.
Wait, iPhone.
Weird.
iOS for the car.
We need our Apple history nerds to fill us in on this.
I'm looking. I'll see. iOS in the car. Okay, so
That's what it was?
it was called iOS in the car, but they were dubbing. They were dubbing it. This is the first.
Oh, you're right.
That's the first generation of it. Yeah, and then they were dubbing it Car OS, so to say. But that's Car OS.
I can't believe you remembered that. I that was deep in my subconscious. I had totally forgotten about that.
For my next trick.
Yeah, so I'm more so convinced after that RJ interview that it's cool if you can support it, but it's better to just have a first party OS that is well optimized and prepared for everything. That is intuitive and looks like, a phone UI does.
That is the Apple thing to do, is to have first party control over it for a more fluid thing. I mean, what's more Apple than that? By not adding Apple CarPlay makes it more Apple.
Whoa. 16 walls.
Well, that's just lazy writing right there.
That's true. By not supporting CarPlay, it's more Apple-like. Huh.
And for my final trick now.
No, I was going to say the calendar thing is kind of weird. The car syncs with your calendar, and if you have an event or something going on at the right time, you'll get in the car, and if that event is scheduled at a specific place in your calendar, the car already has the navigation to that location. You don't have to plug it in. You just get in the car and it says, okay, here's where you're headed. Sometimes that's nice. I've ran into times where it's stupid and it doesn't understand, well, I have to go to grandma's first and then we're going there, so I have to turn it off. So it's like, you think you're so smart, don't you?
Look at you. You think you know me? I had to go to the airport and it routed that because I had a flight. And I was like,
yeah, it just knew.
Yeah.
You didn't have to plug it in.
And I'm like, I'm not taking the Model 3 to the airport. I'm moving it out of the garage so I can take the other car out. Dummy. Calm down,
Dummy.
Tesla. You're not coming.
It gets so ahead of itself sometimes. Yeah, but how much more collaboration can you really expect out of a phone and car? That's what I was struggling with when people were like, no, Apple's going to make their own car and it'll fit into the ecosystem better. I'm like, what is that car going to do that an existing car with CarPlay can't?
Right.
It's like Apple Music.
Take you to the closest Apple store? I don't know.
It's have Apple Maps in it. That's another thing. I would love Tesla to adopt Apple Maps.
That's different. That's what I'm looking for when it comes to CarPlay. I'm just looking for Apple Maps. That's literally, I don't want Google Maps. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. I want Apple Maps.
It's not very good. Just yesterday we were driving it to a restaurant we were going to eat at, and it wanted us to do this huge drive around the whole parking lot thing, and it didn't realize that there was just a turn lane at the stoplight. You could just turn left and you'll be right there. So we had to turn it off. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I've done this road trip with Apple Maps and I've done it with Google.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm biased, but subjectively from my own experience,
they love to crap on the Apple Maps because of the whole,
because it had a bumpy start.
Because it had Scott Forstall leading it. Yes. But
right.
that Apple Maps is so OP sometimes because it accurately gives me my ETA and it doesn't change it, because I've run this test so many times. Apple Maps and then Google or Tesla's thing, which is Google, and Tesla is fluctuating like it's
right.
confidently uncertain, and Apple Maps just stay true to the course. It's like, no, you're not going to make a left at that one. You're going to make a right at the next one up ahead. And then sure enough, when I got close enough, the Tesla would reroute like this one's closer, so it would eventually just align itself to what Apple was already locked in with Maps. So when I say I want CarPlay in Tesla, what I was really realizing what I wanted was just Apple Maps. If you give me Apple Maps, that's CarPlay. That's it. You don't need anything else. You just want
you got your Apple Music already. You got the phone app, which is super in depth, and you can do a ton of stuff through the Tesla app. I'm dare I say it might be my favorite app.
It is, absolutely,
considering how capable it is. Like, set my charge limit, open the trunk, change, adjust the climate. My insurance is in here. My charge stats are in here. You can monitor the car
it
like you showed
my direct
last week.
deposit. I mean, it's everything.
It's the super app.
Yeah.
You got your service in there, roadside assistance. It's just packed.
It's an OS inside of an OS.
That's what it is. Yeah, this is the not a Tesla phone, you know.
This is their version of CarPlay, next gen CarPlay that's controlled by iOS. But it's the greater one. Like I'm using the Tesla's interface with it. It's funny because I want more interfaces from Apple on Tesla, but on my phone I want more Tesla integration. So I'm just trying to marry the two as smooth as possible. That's what I'm trying to do.
Well said. Yeah, it's very capable. I like how you can tell there's just so much years of experience.
Yeah.
And you really notice it when people review like the Rivian app or the Lucid app. There's just such a disconnect. They're like, oh, they haven't got to that yet. Oh, they didn't think of that yet. Tesla's been at it for so long. They have all this integration. And like, you want a button for that? Yep, you're going to want to open the charge port. Oh, and this one says how much range you have because of the cold. And now it's heating the battery pack. Here's the defroster animation. The doors open. Or like you showed, when the car's in motion, the animation.
Yeah, I love that.
The wheels are moving.
Here's how much you paid last month at home versus supercharging. Yep. Here's how much you're like the fact that
it's a very good third-party app.
I love that it broke down my home stats for like here's how much you paid at home extra.
Right.
Like, that blows my mind. Like you just know. You just know what you're charging me. You're
Our
like,
phone doesn't even do that.
Yeah. I would
measure the battery tab. You could see how much energy you consume.
Here's how much you're running up your electricity bill right now. You would rethink
your carbon
how you
footprint.
Yeah. But the Tesla app does that. Here's how much you're paying. This is what it is. I love it. It is my favorite app. I think hold on. Because everything on my home screen. Yeah, it's my favorite app. Maybe
They got widgets.
I'm just gonna share it to you. I'm not going to actually just because of sensitive information. But it's my favorite app. Oh, for everyone else, it's my favorite app because I have the app on there twice. I'm texting it to you.
Because of the widgets.
Because of the widgets, so I could check on both my cars simultaneously. So
I see.
Yeah,
that's a very rich problem to have, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. So you got all that, and
that's cool.
Maybe the YouTube app is my favorite app. I don't know.
I mean, all the rest I'd probably spend more time in, but that's not what the question is. If we're debating, like, if you were to debate what's your favorite app, is it the one you spend the most time in, or the one that is just helps you get the job done in the fastest, most efficient way possible? So even though the Tesla app, you don't spend as much time in that as, say, YouTube or Twitter, YouTube makes a lot of dumb decisions.
It does. I just unsent the photo because I just realized, like, I've never done it before, and it just popped.
Oh, yeah, it did.
That's so cool. On my end. It just went, wow. I wanted to see if I can edit the. I don't know. I was just playing with iOS at this point. I mean, here's your tech podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. We're gonna have to just tell the tech podcast people that this week's episode is a part of the EV podcast.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about in tech.
Can we like hold the tech podcast hostage per se? Like,
subscribe.
When EV podcast gets 1,000, we will bring back the tech podcast.
I like it.
We're gonna hold it against. But yeah, genuinely, guys, we looked over the tech news. It's all just
What are we
canceling
supposed
each
to
other
talk
out.
for an hour and some change? Are we supposed to talk about how they were going to add buttons and then they took away buttons and then they brought back buttons?
For the record, let me credit you before you credit yourself. You totally called that in an earlier episode this year. And I was like, what do you think the benefit of solid state buttons are? And you were like, none. I don't think it's going to happen. And I was like, oh, Randy.
That sounds like me.
you accurately, what's the term? I was going to say acutely. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Am I using that?
Yeah.
Acutely brought up that if it was about durability or water resistance, it would happen on the watch first. And it didn't. Even the Ultra.
Man, past Randy sounds so wise.
I told you. I mean, was it a week ago? I was listening to our old episodes, and the recurring theme was you should trust Randy on most things because he typically, even when the odds are against him and the news is disagreeing with Randy, he typically ends up being right in the end.
That's funny.
Yeah, I just feel like the whole news cycle is just.
There's nothing.
It's going to do this. No, it isn't. It's going to do that. No, it isn't.
I've already spent a whole episode talking VR to Mike. I've broke that down. I don't want to talk about Chat GPT. I'm playing with it on Bing, but that's.
We could talk about. We don't have time to do a whole separate podcast, but
yeah.
Since we're tacking it on the end of EV here.
Yeah.
Here's how you rope it back. Tesla Theater hasn't been updated in a while. There's only YouTube, Netflix, Disney Plus, and Hulu, but there's a new kid on the block coming called Max.
Oh my God, I knew it. Yep.
Do you have a lot of thoughts on that, or?
Wow, are we that jazzed about it? Hey, you know what? let me rope it back even more. We used to.
Will Max come to Tesla Theater?
We used to do EV news at the second half of the Tech Podcast. And now we're so involved.
You're right.
We're so involved with
Isn't it
EV.
poetic?
It is poetic. Now on the back end, let's trickle in some tech on the EV podcast. Man, boy, have we grown. Look at it. It is poetic, though. Max. Yeah, wow, we really don't have much to talk about, do we?
They're merging Discovery Plus and what's the HBO into one
HBO
service with the hilarious name of
Max.
There's 3 tiers, of course. There's Max with ads, ad free, and ultimate ad free. Randy's face.
What?
Ultimate ad free Max rolls right off the tongue.
What is the difference between ad-free and ultimate? Oh, let me guess. Ultimate doesn't even give you the first party coming to HBO soon ads.
You might be right, because you usually are, but the way I understood it, the way they worded it, is it's kind of like a Netflix thing. Ultimate ad-free means 4K up to 4 screens simultaneously, whereas ad-free is 1080p at 2 screens simultaneously. So there's 2 different versions of no ads. And the ultimate is like $20 a month.
I see.
With ads is 10 and ad-free is 15 or something. But
I get ads on my HBO Max, I guess that's what it's called, when like I was watching Last of Us, and then it's like it goes boom, boom. Stay tuned till after the episode to watch the behind the scenes and recap with the podcast, and then I'm like, and then it gave me trailers, like I meant the theater. It gave me like coming soon to HBO Max. It's like you killed her. No, I'm like, what am I? So I just skip, but it gives you the option to skip. So skip. Stay tuned to after the show. I'm like thinking like, okay, I'm getting ads on this application that I'm not paying for because my brother is, but yeah, I wouldn't pay for it anyway. Oh, hey, there's a new yellow iPhone. You know, there's that.
Yeah, so forgive us for not being jazzed about tech news this week.
I was more excited talking about CarPlay. What?
Yeah, really.
Because I don't know. You know, but isn't it cool though how we are seeing those type of advancements in EV that much like how tech was going to infiltrate everything, the most applicable is a car. It's not the house. They tried it with the smart home thing, but houses are kind of like they have a solid foundation, so they don't really need much work with it. You know, they're set in their ways, and other dad puns I can come up with. But a car, on the other hand, very flexible, very mobile. Yeah, I think it's cool that like we have the American in me says competition's healthy, it's good, and I'm glad that we have such a wide variety of terrible choices to pick from because it makes Tesla right now so much better. But that won't always. I don't think that will always be the case. I don't know if they'll be dethroned necessarily, but you're gonna have your Samsung S23 equivalent. You're gonna have a Pixel with their computational photography equivalent. Like you're gonna have EV equivalents that are very strong in their one thing. You were pitching to me 2 episodes ago that why I should get a Rivian is it's all the people who worked on Tesla, but without the FSD stuff, went over to Rivian. And I'm like, that sounds pretty sexy. I like that. So fix your charging port and we'll talk.
Right. That's really the only major thing. But yeah, I was going to say, we've been talking so much EV stuff, we didn't even get to I don't know if you saw the Rivian CFO news, but they were shooting to be profitable next year.
Yes. Yeah, I did see that.
And there was a lot of misinformation about pricing. But basically they said that for the R2 vehicle, the lower priced one, the maxed out highest trim would be cheaper than the lowest priced R1. So that gives us a ballpark of pricing probably around 50 to 70,000. And I mean, I don't like how many crossovers there are.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's pretty much the only thing the R2 can be, the more I think about it. It's just like a Rivian crossover.
Do you think the R2 would be more... Do you think this is their version? Like, how am I trying to ask this? Is this their Model 3 revamp? Like, oh, cheaper parts, or more efficient?
It feels like it, huh? Yeah.
Do you think
it's like this is what they expect to sell more globally? Like they keep saying that, like this one would do better in Europe and everything, and I'm like, okay, that means it's pretty much guaranteed.
Smaller?
It's got to be smaller.
Yeah, smaller.
And I think if you're going for cheaper, you have to be more aero focused, at least in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people disagree with me on that. But I just feel like if you try to just do a smaller R1S, it's going to eat into sales of R1S too much. Maybe they don't care because R1S is high in demand. But all I could picture is just like a somewhat more aerodynamic... just picture a Model Y with better off-roading. That's what I'm envisioning.
And that actually sounds pretty cool to me. I had a
situation. Would you be interested in that?
To tell you the truth, was it yesterday? No, 2 days ago. I took a trip, and it was the same day trip, but still a few hour drive. And we took the Y.
Mm-hmm.
And after we did what we considered the essentials part of the trip, I was like, we went into the mountains, and I was like, there's this hiking trail that's nearby. If Sage is still up, we could take him for a little hike outside. It's getting nice outside now, and if he's not, then we can at least get to the high point and just look around and take in the view. And she was like, yeah, that sounds nice. And I'm like, cool. And I did not calculate that the roads. I started to get into a more rural part of the area, and I was driving so carefully with the Y, and the first thing I was thinking is like, man, I wish I had a Rivian that can handle the gravel. And I'm going up and my first thing is like, how cool would it be to have a Rivian version of a Model Y? I'm not like, I was literally thinking that because I
Just because like R1S is too big, or
No, too expensive.
just expensive?
Yeah,
yeah, that's a better reason.
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to an R1S. I'm not opposed to or a T. I'm not opposed to any of it. I'm opposed to paying a certain price point now, kind of going forward. But I know my lifestyle,
Especially with the tax credit now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
even more reason.
Yeah, I know I want to go outside more, and I like doing hikes. That's my thing. I love doing it. I love to doing it in San Diego. I do them out here. And if not a hike, a trail, I am at my best when I'm outside, and I'm at the point where it's like my son is old enough to kind of, he could be outside. He's got his shots. He's good now. We got proper sunscreen, and so I'm like, oh, cool. I'm gonna show him, more to this world than these four white walls. And I know when we leave here, wherever we end up next, it's going to be a place where I can be outside a lot.
Sure.
And I want that to translate to the type of vehicle that I can take to those terrains. I'm not looking I don't want a Jeep. I'm not trying to do the crazy, just start crushing through. But I want to be able to manage gravel without worry about kicking up rocks. And like the Y is still, still has that new car smell for quite some time. I don't want to do that again with the Y. And I'm like, yeah, I got the street friendly car, or cars plural. What's my Aptera? What's my supplementary vehicle? I need one that can take me to the weird parts of the terrain that there is no pavement, that I kind of have to go drive through some gravel and rough it a bit. Like, oh, I'll make this the parking spot.
Would you see yourself more interested in a like R2D2, off-roading Model Y versus an R1T, which I know you've expressed a lot of interest in the truck, but the truck can do the off-roading stuff and has a bed. Maybe that's different enough from your wife's Model Y, but is 2 crossovers redundant, I guess, is what I'm trying to say?
It'd be redundant.
But it would be cheaper. That's the difference.
That's the thing.
It would probably,
So now we got to go back to the previous conversation we had episodes ago where it's like, I would just buy it used. But
true.
I will become the biggest Rivian stan the moment they change, to the Nax.
Yeah.
Once we get Nax.
Me too.
Literally
my only problem. I have like no other complaints with the whole company, really.
If they change that,
that's literally it.
Because right now I fanboy over Aptera for being so unique and for being smart with like choosing the only proper way to actually plug in, like that. Like everything about that company is spot on. I just, it doesn't. I'm not as into it as you are because I'm a household of 3. It will never fit my lifestyle. So
I get that.
That doesn't mean I can't appreciate it though. I still, I love it for.
I'm the same way about the Rivians.
Yeah.
And really all pickup trucks. It's
right.
Like I understand the need for them. I respect them. I get excited for Cybertruck, Rivian, any of that news. Do I need one? No. Can I justify one? No. I probably never will. I might not ever own a pickup truck myself, but it's your same mindset towards Aptera. I totally get it.
The thing is, like, maybe the Aptera will be a fun, I don't know. Like, if I'm an empty nester and it's just me and Brittany again, I can probably find some use case for it. But, like, that's me trying to justify it at that point. Whereas, like, with a truck and what I like to do, I got the bed. I got the off-roading part of it. Like, I got everything that a Model Y or 3 shouldn't be doing. So I'm like, okay, I could get behind this. And plus, seeing how they were just so plentiful out in Colorado, I'm like, man, these guys are really taking it into the mountains. Like, this is actually a thing. It got me like excited as a tech enthusiast to see people implementing this in their other elements of their life. I'm like, this is cool. My Tesla can only just be on the road, but you guys are taking these things out there. You're skiing with them. You're thriving. Good for you. That I love that. That got me excited in that sense. So I don't know, an R2S would be my thing. I'm still gonna, geek out about it, but let there be one with an Axe, any of them with it, and that might become maybe immediately my. assuming, okay, hang on. It might become my favorite EV overall, whichever one they do.
Yeah.
With the caveat that assuming that we don't get the slower charging because I'm spoiled. That
Right.
is like, that's a thing now. I don't want slow charging. I don't care what the situation is. I like in and out as quickly as possible because I know it's gonna be taking our break regardless. I like it has to equal to or be better than what my 3 and Y can do now. That's the barrier of entry at this point. Above anything else,
Gotcha.
it has to equal or surpass the Y and the 3. Otherwise, I'm not even going to entertain it.
Understandable. No, that'd be cool. I'm even more excited now talking about it, speculating on it for what the first R2 vehicle will look like or what market it'll go for. It's going to be cool.
It's going to compete with the Subaru Outback, I bet. I guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And as you were saying, since I'm right about everything, you know why I'm right? Hang on. Because I'm like, that does sound like me. I'm just, when you ask me certain scenario questions, hey, they're reporting this. What do you think? It's not because I'm a bah humbug, Scrooge about this stuff. I have to apply. I'm a realist. I look at things from an honest perspective that has to be outside of the vacuum of the subject. So when you're like, hey, solid state buttons. Yeah, it does sound cool. It sounds different. A mappable button. Who doesn't want that? People have been asking that for so long. Who doesn't want some cool, all these things? Oh, no ports. It comes closer to Johnny Ive's vision of two slabs of glass between the piece of steel. And there's the cleanest, perfect iPhone through Johnny Ive's vision. Who wouldn't want that? I get it. But now let's come back. Now that we're entering Earth's atmosphere again and we're landing, no, not gonna happen. No. It won't happen because stuff like that. Like it would go on the watch. It would go on an iPad. It would go on something. They tested LiDAR with the iPad first. They will trial run certain hardware stuff well before it comes to the best selling piece that they can sell, which is the iPhone. So until I see this stuff integrated elsewhere, they won't. Not under Tim Cook's Apple. That's not the blueprint I picked up from. Nor do I believe anymore. I never believed it back then, but I really don't believe it. He's too methodical. It's all about the dollar. It's all about the Benjis, baby. We're not going to compromise that, and I get it. We're happy as shareholders, and he's happy as the CEO getting nice bonuses from it. But
that's right.
That doesn't mean that it won't happen. Likewise, when I put that same thought about FSD or Robotaxi or anything else, and I start predicting, or Cybertruck launch date, and I'm looking at through the lens of reality here, reality OS. I try to throw some tech in there for the people who care.
Yeah.
I've been running the beta for about 2 weeks now, and I got some time. So, yeah, I just think that, like, what makes sense? Like, honestly, my filter is just what actually makes sense. Not what do we want, not what do they promise, because everybody has an agenda. What actually makes sense today? Cybertruck will get delayed. We won't see a Roadster. And the R2S will, if it's going to suit better for Europe, it's going to be more akin to a Subaru Outback. Boom.
Agreed. Well said. We'll catch you maybe next week. It's kind of all up in the air. But thanks for listening, and have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.